Chapter 2186. The Power of Boundary Essence. Come back, come back. Come back. Eight Gates' wicked king stared at the ground and roared. Unfortunately, it was useless. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. His 8-gate card was obtained in a secret land in the Yen state. It was said that it was left behind by an expert called the ancestor of the ancient sect. The ancestor of the ancient sect was extremely powerful and famous in the martial god 9 states. The 8-gate card was the weapon that made him famous. After obtaining the immortal weapon, he, the 8 Gates Bandit King, successfully became the Lord of the Commandery. Who would have thought that he would meet an evil junior who actually broke his 8 Gates card? Most importantly, even he did not know the weakness of the 8 Gates card. How could this junior know? I have cut off the threads of law between you and the 8 Gates. Come back. At this moment, Lin Ling's cold voice sounded. In fact, the 8 Gates seemed to be controlled by 8 threads. However, ordinary people could not see the threads. Even if they could see them, they could not cut them. If not for Lin Ling's left eye, he would not have been able to see through them. This was because there were rules to cutting off the threads of law. One could not cut them randomly. One had to follow the steps of open door, rest door, life door, pain door, stop door, view door, death door, and surprise door. What else do you have next? Come back. While everyone was still in shock, Lin Ling stepped into the sky and pointed his sword at the 8 Gates Bandit King. His expression was as calm as ever, as if breaking through the 8 Gates was a normal thing and not something to be proud of. However, if young Master Thousand Bones had such a record, he would be extremely excited and proud. Therefore, young Master Thousand Bones opened his mouth wide and looked at Lin Ling with a gaze full of fear. That guy is definitely more powerful than young Master Thousand Bones. I didn't expect there to be 2 top 20 geniuses in this city. Come back. Everyone in the city forgot to breathe at this moment. Earlier, 8 Gates' wicked king was about to fight young Master Thousand Bones. However, Lin Ling suddenly intervened. At that time, no one was optimistic about Lin Ling. Everyone thought that Lin Ling was courting death and that he was a mantis trying to stop a chariot. But now, they realized that they were wrong. In the entire city, the truly terrifying one was not Sir Thousand Bones, but Lin Ling. Octagon King understood this point the most. However, his eyes became cold. In the beginning, he looked down on Lin Ling, but now, he didn't dare to do so. Your strength isn't the strongest, but your battle experience, insight, and calmness are all extraordinary. Fortunately, a genius like you hasn't matured yet, or else you would have become a huge problem. The 8 Gates Bandit King coldly spat out these words. His killing intent towards Lin Ling was extremely strong. He must kill Lin Ling. However, since your talent is so terrifying, you must have some kind of background in the Martial God Battalion. Suddenly, the Octagon Evil King asked. The Martial Gods Battalion was filled with experts. It was the Iron Blood Battalion. If that young man was a general subordinate, then the Octagon Evil King would have to be cautious. He's a genius from the lower realm. He doesn't have any backing in the Martial God Barracks. At this time, Sir Thousand Bones coldly said. He actually exposed Lin Ling's origin. In fact, he was very afraid of Lin Ling, but because of this, he couldn't wait for Lin Ling to be obliterated by the Octagon Evil King. Sir Thousand Bones' actions are a bit ugly. The crowd squinted their eyes and then looked at Sir Thousand Bones with disgust. Earlier, when the Octagon Evil King wanted to destroy the city, the geniuses from all over the world were in danger. At that time, they wanted Sir Thousand Bones to help, but the latter was scared out of his wits. Instead, the person who saved them was that unknown young man. But now, Sir Thousand Bones actually betrayed that young man? This was too shameless. Thank you for the reminder. The Octagon Evil King smiled with a relaxed expression. He didn't need to be afraid of a genius without a backer. Suddenly, he looked at Sir Thousand Bones and said, "Don't tell me you two are joining forces?" Lin Ling and Sir Thousand Bones were both scouts, so the Octagon Evil King was afraid that Sir Thousand Bones would also join forces. After all, the Octagon Evil King wouldn't be able to win if the two of them joined forces. Young Master Qian Gu opened his fan and proudly said, "He and I were originally opponents. It's just that this battle was interrupted because of your arrival. Therefore, I won't join hands with him, and I disdain joining hands with him. In any case, no matter who wins or loses, you'll have to fight me next." In fact, he couldn't wait for Lin Ling and the Octagon Evil King to fight to the death. That way, he would be able to take advantage of the situation. Of course, the main reason was that he didn't have enough information to defeat both Lin Ling and the Octagon Evil King. "Huh, your words are enough. I'll fight you after I kill him." The Octagon Evil King's smile became even colder and he finally let out a sigh of relief. "You have a good eye." Unfortunately, real experts look at boundary essence because this is the martial god world, not the lower world. "Little guy, let me teach you a lesson before you die. If you don't have absolute strength, don't force yourself." A black light appeared on the Octagon Evil King's right hand, and it was extremely oppressive. That was boundary essence. Moreover, that strand of world essence had already reached 10% completion. As soon as the boundary essence appeared, the entire city seemed to be suppressed by an invisible palm. Everyone found it difficult to breathe. Boundary essence was the power of the universe. It came from all the realms, and it was even more terrifying than the laws. Boundary essence was the trump card of every expert in the martial god world. Now that the Octagon Evil King had used boundary essence, it was obvious that he wanted to kill Lin Ling. Most importantly, they discovered that the Octagon Evil King's boundary essence was more powerful than they had imagined. 10% converted? Young Master Qian Gu's face turned solemn. He had guessed that he would not be able to kill the Octagon Evil King with his strength. Of course, he was not weak either, so the Octagon Evil King would not be able to kill him. This also meant that he could only protect himself in this mission. He could not kill any commandery lords. "You are only a rank 5 martial emperor. Although your vision and laws are not weak, I am a rank 7 martial emperor. Everyone below my level is just an ant." Rumble. Along with the Octagon Evil King's voice, the sky shook. It was as if the sun, moon, and stars had appeared in the sky. "Go to hell." He threw out a palm strike, activating his boundary essence to kill Lin Ling. The black light ball was not big, but it suppressed a surging power. If it hit the ground, it would definitely cause great suffering. The Octagon Evil King's boundary essence broke out of his body. Yes. Many people cried out in surprise. The power of boundary essence was too heaven-defying. It could break through any power of laws, but it was also because of this that very few people could break out of their bodies with boundary essence. Most of them wrapped boundary essence in weapons, fists, and legs, using this to kill the enemy. The reason was that the boundary essence was the power of a realm. Only a world king could use this power to attack an enemy from 1,000 meters away. Now, the Octagon Evil King had done it. Even Lin Ling was secretly surprised because he didn't have such a technique. However, when he looked at the black ball of light in the sky, Lin Ling was a little excited. As expected of the martial god realm, every expert here was his teacher. Chapter 2187. First military merit, what is he doing? The crowd was shocked. Lin Ling was still not going to make a move. Fairy Danxia, Lu Chengfeng, and the others frowned. Could it be that Lin Ling had no power to resist boundary element? However, upon thinking about it, it was indeed possible. After all, they had never seen Lin Ling use his boundary origin power. His boundary element must still be in the boundary element seed state. Young Master Qian Gu sneered. The geniuses from the lower realm were short-sighted and did not know the path of martial arts. Boundary element was the right path in the future. The power of a world is invisible and colorless. It is everywhere. Only when you know the rules of the universe can you control boundary element in your heart. Lin Ling closed his eyes and recalled everything he had seen. The wind, clouds, and any sound were blocked by him. He felt as if he had entered the universe and was surrounded by countless mysterious stars and a boundless world. At the same time, Lin Ling raised his sword. A mysterious power surrounded the sword. It was extremely dazzling and even emitted an explosive sound. However, the terrifying thing was that the sound could not be heard by the ears. Only the heart could hear it. What? Sensing the mysterious power of the boundary element, the wicked Eight Doors King frowned because the boundary element brought him great pressure. Could it be that it was a converted boundary element? Die. Die. Most importantly, he sensed that Lin Ling seemed to be comprehending something. This unknown and mysterious young man was comprehending something in front of him. He was the Lord of the 13 Commanderies. In a weak world, he was already the Lord of the sector. Infinite boundary element. Die. He pounced forward and touched the black ball of light that was shooting towards Lin Ling. He wanted to increase the speed of the boundary element. He knew that he had to kill the young man as soon as possible. Boom! Instantly, Jia Yuan's speed increased. Under countless shocked gazes, Jia Yuan's destructive bombardment turned the entire city into ashes. Dust soared into the sky, and countless people were seriously injured. In the sky, the Eight Gates Evil King appeared once again. His face was somewhat pale, but he was also filled with excitement. It was because he had killed the mysterious young man. Dead. Young Master Qian Gu said coldly. His jealousy made him want nothing more than to see Lin Ling die. Is he dead? Some of the geniuses on the ground expressed their doubts. Are you blind? He must be dead, said young Master Qian Gu. Those geniuses nodded helplessly. Lin Ling should really be dead. After all, the lords of the 13 Commanderies must be extremely powerful. The martial gods battalion didn't arrange for them to kill the lords of the 13 Commanderies. Instead, they were sent as scouts to gather information. The real mission to kill the lords of the 13 Commanderies would be when the army of the martial gods battalion set out. Therefore, it was impossible for Lin Ling to survive the attack of the master of the 13th Commandery. You guys are thinking too much. However, at this moment, a clear and cold voice suddenly resounded. The black dimensional energy was still raging on the ground, but a dazzling ray of sword light slashed out. Rumble. The sword light was like thunder. It was incomparably fast and sharp, as if it could cut through everything. Pop. 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 Under everyone's gaze, the black dimensional energy was cut through and exploded. Although the people from the lower world are not as powerful as the martial artists from the martial god plane, it is only a matter of time. The experts from the martial god plane are naturally better than the martial artists from the lower world and they know more things. However, this doesn't mean that the martial artists from the lower world are trash. The voice rang out once again. A slender figure slowly walked out from the boundary energy that swept out in all directions. It was Lin Ling. Seeing this, the entire ground and sky fell into a dead silence. The Eight Gates Evil King was a rank 7 martial emperor and he had converted 10% of his dimensional energy. In this mission, he could kill 99% of the geniuses from the lower world. However, before his eyes, his powerful dimensional energy had been cut off by an ordinary-looking junior. Could it be that his dimensional energy has also been converted by 10%? The crowd's hearts exploded. They already thought that Lin Ling was powerful enough to break the Eight Gates Evil King's laws. However, they had underestimated Lin Ling because Lin Ling's dimensional energy was not weak either. 10% of his dimensional energy. The Eight Gates Evil King gasped. If there was such a monstrous genius in the martial god plane, he would not be surprised. However, this young man was from the lower world. Retreat. At this moment, he only wanted to retreat. This was because he knew that he had encountered one of the top 10 geniuses from the lower world. Too late. However, Lin Ling coldly spat out a sentence. He raised his sword high up and a mysterious energy bloomed on the sword. It was constantly pulsing, accompanied by gods, demons, the sun, the moon, and the stars. It even gave people the illusion that the sword was suppressing the power to split the heavens and earth. That's right, it was the power when a world was just born. One should know that the worlds of the lower world were said to have been opened by the ancient martial gods with their own strength. You can't kill me. The Eight Gates Evil King's expression turned solemn as he quickly retreated. If it was at the beginning, then indeed I wouldn't have been able to kill you. However, borrowing your method of using Jia Yuan, I have gained a deeper understanding of Jia Yuan. Lin Ling indifferently said. Moreover, he slashed out with his sword. That slash was clean and sharp like thunder. Most terrifyingly, the dimensional energy turned into a sword ray and pierced through the sky. Space shattering. The Eight Gates Evil King's eyes narrowed. As far as he knew, only a few geniuses from the lower world were able to make their dimensional energy break out of their bodies. Now, there was another one. Most importantly, he discovered that this genius was not born naturally, but someone who had matured later on. This was because this genius had only learned it after seeing the Eight Gates Evil King use his dimensional energy. What kind of terrifying comprehension ability was this? While he was still in shock, the dimensional energy sword slashed down, causing his eyes to widen. He wanted to resist, but it was already too late. He was already too slow. When the sword slashed down, the Eight Gates Evil King was shocked to discover that the mysterious young man's dimensional energy had exceeded 10% and was about to reach 20%. It was no wonder that he had lost. Boom! Then, a deafening sound rang out, like a thunderclap exploding in everyone's hearts, causing many people's hearts to stop beating. The master of the 13 commanderies, the Eight Gates Evil King, had fallen. At this moment, the experts in the martial gods camp were looking at the sand table, estimating the strength of both sides and the distribution of experts. However, at this moment, one of the jade plates that represented the master of the 13 commanderies shattered completely. The army camp suddenly became silent. One of the masters of the 13 commanderies has fallen. This is the first military merit. Finally, someone exclaimed. Chapter 2188. A stray dog. None of the chiefs of the 13 commanderies were weak, and they would need an army to kill them. However, one of the scouts had completed the mission and was the first to die among the chiefs. This is a great military merit. I wonder which dazzling genius it is. Another person spoke. This was a white-haired elder. It must be my subordinate, Tang Yue. Bullshit, it's the falling flowers flowing water sword. How about a bet? Let's see who has the highest military merit in this mission. The Grand Commanders were all filled with fighting spirit. They were all optimistic about their own soldiers. You seem to have forgotten about me. That dead commandery king must have been from my batch of recruits. One of the first commanders was unwilling to be outdone when he saw the endless debate between his comrades. He was surprisingly First Commander Huang Qi. Everyone was stunned and looked at Huang Qi. One of them said seriously, "Brother Huang, are you serious?" "Of course, my soldiers are not cowards." Huang Qi puffed out his chest and said. "Hee hee, you must be joking. The person who spoke couldn't help but laugh out loud. The other commanders also laughed out loud. It wasn't that they were looking down on Commander Huang Qi. It was just that amongst the 100,000 geniuses from the various worlds, only a few were truly dazzling. The other geniuses might have some strength, but it was absolutely impossible for them to attain the most dazzling heights. Brother, you'd better not gamble. Otherwise, you might go bankrupt. What's more, you still owe us a drink. One of the old men patted Huang Qi's shoulder and comforted him. Huang Qi opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, he didn't have enough confidence. Among the geniuses he had recruited, it seemed that only Lin Ling wasn't bad, but Lin Ling shouldn't have reached such heights. There are still 12 commandery lords left. I estimate that the rest of them are tough bones. At most, we can kill 3 more. Then, it's up to our army to move out. This batch of scouts can be considered pretty good unpolished jade since they were able to live for more than a year. If they are polished, they will definitely be able to shake the martial god battalion. Soon after, the other grand commanders spoke up as they stared at the sand table. Actually, all the geniuses from the various worlds had jade tokens that represented their identities, and they were able to clearly see the situation of their enemies by relying on those tokens. Moreover, those tokens recorded their military exploits. At this moment, Lin Ling's side of the city was still silent. Even the enemies of the commandery were silent. However, after a short while, the enemies retreated majestically. Their panicked expressions were as if they had seen the god of death. This scene made the geniuses in the city go wild with joy. After a long time, they looked at the blue-robed youth in the sky. As the young man walked down, he looked at Sir Thousandbones and said, "It's your turn." Young Master Thousandbones' expression froze on the spot. If he had treated Lin Ling as an ant in the beginning, then now he had to look up to Lin Ling. "You said that I killed a native warrior in front of you. That was a loss of face for you. Now, you have the chance to kill me." Lin Ling stopped in his tracks and said indifferently, "Let's fight." Previously, Sir Thousandbones had wanted to challenge him, but he had been focused on obtaining military exploits, so he had ignored him. Now, he could fight. Does Sir Thousandbones dare to fight? Countless geniuses looked at Sir Thousandbones with anticipation in their eyes. This was a battle between a native genius of the martial god realm and a genius from the lower realm. This battle had obviously moved the hearts of countless geniuses. Sir Thousandbones' breathing quickened. Should he fight? My current goal is to kill the ruler of the commandery. Let's postpone our battle. Sir Thousandbones said indifferently after pondering for a moment. He put away the fan in his hand and strode away. However, although his words were pleasant to the ears, everyone knew that Sir Thousandbones did not dare to fight. This was undoubtedly ironic. Sir Thousandbones had been so arrogant at the beginning. He had told everyone to get lost because he wanted to accomplish great things. He wanted to obtain military exploits and kill the ruler of the commandery. However, after Lin Ling defeated the ruler of the commandery, he did not dare to fight and immediately ran away. "Aren't you angry that I took your military exploits?" Lin Ling looked disdainfully at young Master Thousandbones and spat out a sentence. "You're fast, but next time, you won't be able to take my military exploits." Sir Thousandbones was furious, but he still said indifferently. "However, what if I want to fight with you?" Lin Ling stepped forward and slowly followed Sir Thousandbones. Sir Thousandbones did not want to fight, but he wanted Sir Thousandbones to fight. Sir Thousandbones pretended to be carefree as he left. However, when he sensed Lin Ling walking behind him, his face turned ugly. Lin Ling was deliberately making things difficult for him. While he was angry, Lin Ling waved his left hand. A white flame shot out and landed on the ground in front of Sir Thousandbones, causing the ground to explode. This was a naked provocation. "Let's fight. Why run?" Lin Ling said again. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. He wanted to see why Sir Thousandbones was so arrogant. Don't be too arrogant. I don't want to fight because the time isn't right. I'm not afraid of you. Sir Thousandbones' face was extremely gloomy. In fact, he did not dare to fight, but Lin Ling was too strong. He felt like he had lost all face. You talk too much. Lin Ling slashed out with his sword. His boundary essence turned into a sharp crescent moon slash. Gotcha. The fan in Sir Thousandbones' hand was split in two. He stood there in a daze, looking at the fan in his hand. The anger in his heart erupted like a volcano. Let's fight. Lin Ling seemed to be waiting for his anger to erupt. Consider yourself lucky today. The next time we meet, I won't let you off. Sir Thousandbones glared at Lin Ling. In the end, he swallowed his anger, stepped forward, and finally sped up into the distance. TCH, this is Sir Thousandbones? How disappointing. If you don't dare to fight, then don't. Why pretend? Seeing Sir Thousandbones flee quickly, many people could not help but laugh. Sir Thousandbones was just a joke. Lin Ling also shook his head. His disdainful voice floated out from his mouth, "Stray dog, I have to fight even if I don't want to." Previously, in his battle with the Eight-Gate Evil King, Sir Thousandbones had exposed his origin. This was a trap. Therefore, when facing such a person, Lin Ling would not be soft-hearted. Boundary Essence Sword. On the sword, terrifying boundary essence bloomed. It turned into a dazzling sword and fiercely slashed out. You dare to kill me? Sensing the killing intent behind him, Sir Thousandbones immediately cursed. Lin Ling wanted to kill him. You want to kill me, so why don't I kill you? Stray dog. Unfortunately, Lin Ling's sword was still decisive and sharp. It slashed out. Stray dog? His voice was like thunder in Sir Thousandbones' ears. He clenched his teeth. He was a genius of the martial god realm, but now he had become a stray dog. However, he quickly calmed down and erupted with powerful boundary essence energy. Because Lin Ling was here to kill him, he couldn't just stand there and do nothing. Chapter 2189. A fierce battle. However, young Master Thousandbones was useless. The sword had taken his life and he knew that Lin Ling's boundary force was much stronger than his. Let's go. Go. Lin Ling could not be bothered to waste his breath. After killing Sir Thousandbones, he sheathed his sword and left. After all, his goal was to enter the top 10. Now that he had finally killed the ruler of a commandery, there should be hope for him to enter the top 10. Moreover, when he was fighting with the commandery lord, his strength had increased again. This undoubtedly made Lin Ling's heart jump with joy. On the ground, Fairy Danxia and the rest smiled and quickly followed him. This guy is crazy. Wow. Rank 5 Martial Emperor realm and 10% of his boundary force. I don't know how he cultivated it. Wow. The most crazy thing is his comprehension ability. I heard the evil Eight Gates King say that he comprehended his boundary force on the spot. He is a genius. Wow. We can only look up to such a genius. I am looking forward to seeing him fight with other geniuses. Wow. Many people exclaimed in admiration as they stared at Lin Ling with eyes full of admiration. In fact, the Martial Emperor realm was a realm where one could convert their boundary force. Only when the boundary force was converted could it be combined with one's talent and realm. The amount of boundary force converted was related to one's future strength. So far, among the 100,000 geniuses, only a handful of them had converted 10% of their boundary force, and there was one of them. He is so strong. I should have joined his team. Yes, with such a strong teammate, it will not be difficult to survive for a year. When Lin Ling disappeared, the geniuses left the ancient city and were still talking. Lin Ling, you're really something. You actually have 10% of your boundary essence. You've really hidden it well. It was obvious that the ancient city was not suitable for them to stay. Lin Ling and the rest walked along the prairie. Along the way, Lu Qingfeng said in surprise. He had not expected that this guy, who he had met by chance, would be so powerful. Which world are you from? Pan Luyun asked curiously. After all, defeating a native martial artist wasn't something that just anyone could do. It seems to be from the North Territory. Lin Ling thought back. In reality, he did not know what his realm was called. The north boundary seems to be extremely weak. I have to say, when things reach an extreme, they will move in the opposite direction. Sometimes, the weaker the boundary, the more powerful the monster. Lu Qingfeng sighed. Lin Ling must be an extremely monstrous existence among the 100,000 geniuses of the north boundary. The north? It is said that a powerful genius was born there. His name is Li Xiaoyao. Fairy Danxia suddenly said. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. Li Xiaoyao was so famous in the martial god world? Of course, that's because I pay more attention to the experts of the martial god realm. In fact, although Li Xiaoyao is famous, he hasn't reached the peak of the martial god realm. However, I can be sure that Li Xiaoyao is the representative of the North Territory. Fairy Danxia said with a smile. Apart from cultivation, she usually liked to pay attention to ancient geniuses. She had looked through many ancient books, so she knew many names. I see. No wonder we've never heard of Li Xiaoyao. Pan Luyun and the others nodded in realization. However, for a genius to be recorded in the martial god realm, Li Xiaoyao should be extremely powerful. Looks like I have to get the rest of the stone sculptures as soon as possible. Lin Ling, on the other hand, thought to himself. After this mission, he had to rush back immediately. Enemies are coming. Everyone, get ready. Then, Lin Ling looked forward with his left eye and said nonchalantly. Fairy Danxia and the others' faces became serious. However, seeing that Lin Ling was here, they were not that nervous anymore. After a fierce battle, they appeared in the prairie. With Lin Ling around, they were obviously much safer. Lin Ling's boundary origin was extremely sharp. He had also mastered the attack method of breaking out of the body. Without a doubt, he was like a cold swordsman. His sword was also extremely famous among the enemy. It even made the enemy tremble in fear. Lin Ling and the others had also gained a lot from killing the bandits. There are so many divine crystals. Lin Ling, these are all yours. The bandits of the commanderies all had treasures on them. After they died, Lin Ling and the others naturally took advantage of them. Let's split it equally. Lin Ling smiled and shook his head. He had always been very forthright with his friends. Seeing that Lin Ling did not care, Pan Luyun and the others were secretly grateful. It was their fortune to meet a friend like Lin Ling during this mission. As for divine crystals, they were extremely rare in the myriad of worlds. No one would complain about having too many. However, Fairy Danxia seemed to have a powerful background. She smiled and refused. She even said casually, I won't share these divine crystals. The three of you can share them equally. So little? Lin Ling and the others rolled their eyes. They knew that this girl's family was extremely wealthy. As time passed, more and more enemies appeared in the prairie. The deadline of 1 year was getting closer and closer. Gradually, 30 to 40,000 of the geniuses from various worlds had died. More than 10,000 had escaped from the prairie. The rest were the real elites. Time is almost up. Get ready to move out. As long as they can hold on until the end, those geniuses will become members of the martial gods battalion. As for those who escaped, they can only roam freely in their own worlds. The martial god's realm, the world of the martial god, is not suitable for them. Many of the enemy soldiers have died. These are all military exploits. I wonder who will become the most dazzling 10 commanders. The commanders from the martial god battalion spoke in an indifferent voice. Their eyes were also looking towards the outside. Thump. 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 Outside the battalion, the war drums were constantly beating. This meant that the scouts' mission was about to end. Currently, the experts of the 13 commanderies have suffered numerous casualties. Thousands of China's generals have died, and 3 commanderies have died. This is a good result. The commanders quickly retracted their gazes and looked at the sand table. The army had not yet moved out, but they had already eliminated 3 commanderies. This undoubtedly boosted the morale of the soldiers. At the same time, it also meant that there were extremely powerful geniuses in this batch of geniuses. One of the commandery lords must have been killed by the falling flowers flowing water sword from my camp. Really? I think Mo, the son of the great ancestor, must have killed one of the commanderies. What a joke. Falling flower flowing water is the successor of the 10-sword celestials of Qingzhou. Maybe he has already killed 2 commanderies. Don't forget about Wu Qing in my battalion. Tang Yue is not weak either. During the discussion, the commanders started arguing again. There was no first place in literature, and no second place in martial arts. Although they had a good relationship, in the army, military exploits were everything. They represented glory and glory. Therefore, they all wanted the scout in their battalion to take the first place. Another commandery has fallen. It's the Sea Urchin King. Suddenly, someone exclaimed. On the sand table, the jade token representing the Sea Urchin King shattered. This meant that the Sea Urchin King had fallen. Chapter 2190. Heroes emerge from chaotic battles on the battlefield, smoke billowed and blood flowed like a river. Shouts of killing filled the air. Another commandery lord had died, which undoubtedly infuriated the 13th commandery. They wanted to kill all the scouts. However, the geniuses from various worlds were not weak. To be able to make it this far, every one of them had a strong murderous aura and a strong aura. Heroes emerge from chaotic battles. A true expert rises from killing. On a few hills in the prairie, a few figures stood calmly. They were like the kings of the army as they looked ahead. Someone was holding a sword. His green robe was fluttering in the wind. There was blood on the tip of his sword as he looked ahead with a deep gaze. It was the falling flowers flowing water sword. His sword could make people die with a smile. He was also the most dazzling existence among the 100,000 geniuses from various worlds. Time is almost up. Our mission as scouts is about to be completed. If we don't get more merits, we will have to leave the battlefield. He said calmly. Other people's goal was to survive for a year. They would be happy if they survived. However, the falling flowers flowing water sword's ambition was not limited to that. Falling flowers flowing water sword. His sword was bright and there were traces of flowing water on the blade. However, the tip of the sword was slightly red. That was his boundary essence. With that boundary essence, there were few martial emperors who could be his match. The Sea Urchin King has fallen. Unfortunately, he was not killed by us. In the distance, a child sat on the ground with a chessboard in front of him. He had split into 2 characters, one holding a black chess piece and the other holding a white chess piece. It was as if he controlled the entire situation. Even so, I have surpassed all of you. The falling flowers flowing water sword said calmly. You have only killed a commandery lord. You have killed many generals. If we are talking about the number 1, you have a chance. However, be careful. Others may also surpass you. The child said with a smile. His name was Chess Boy. Although he looked young, he had obtained the inheritance of Chess Elder and was extremely powerful. On the other side, a white-haired young man was sitting cross-legged. He was like an ancient stone, without any emotions. He was like an ancient well that didn't ripple. He was quiet and motionless. It was Wuxia. This person's realm essence was also extremely powerful, known for being ruthless and heartless. So far, 4 lords of commandery have died. They were killed by the falling flowers flowing water sword, Wuxia, and me. I don't know who killed the last lord of commandery. The 3 of us will definitely make it to the top 10. However, I want the first place. Compared to the calmness of those few people, a domineering and indifferent voice was emitted. A large number of cheers were emitted from all around. That person was like the king of geniuses, causing all the geniuses of the various worlds to prostrate themselves in worship. There were even some young women who looked at that young man with adoration. This person was the son of the great ancestor, D/Mo. In the distance, there were many powerful geniuses from various worlds, but at this moment, they narrowed their eyes because in terms of strength, they were still slightly weaker than the top geniuses. However, the battle was not over yet. There was still a chance. I want first place. At this moment, a crisp voice was heard. It was the only female among the top 10 geniuses from various worlds. Upon closer inspection, the lady was dressed extremely gorgeously and was in her teens. Riding on a blue phoenix, she had a mischievous aura that made people want to get close to her. However, that was just a thought. That was because she was the princess of Qingzhou's upper commandery, Tang Yue. She was a young lady who had a strong family background, strength, and talent. The first place belongs to me. Everyone else, make way. After Tang Yue's voice, another cold voice was heard in the prairie. Wuxia stood up, his white hair dancing wildly. That may not be the case. Clang! Clang! The falling flowers flowing water sword also raised his sword. A little rouge illuminated the world. Rumble! The other top geniuses did not want to be outdone. They exploded with their auras, forming a colorful world of geniuses. Kill! Kill! In the distant prairie, the enemy troops charged over. The entire sky was filled with enemy troops. There were definitely more than 100 million cultivators present, causing the prairie to tremble. Most importantly, those bandits were not weak. The weakest one was at rank 5 Martial Emperor realm. The first place belongs to me. Kill! Finally, a genius attacked, exploding with a strong power of law. A black line that was 1,000 miles long appeared, as if it had separated the heavens and the earth. Wherever the mysterious black line passed, there were corpses everywhere. Many of the enemy soldiers were even split into 2 before they could react. It's so powerful. That's the black and white power of law of life and death. Kill! The crowd was secretly surprised. Indeed, no one who could appear here was weak. The black line had probably killed 1,000 people in an instant. Kill! Kill! On the other side, the geniuses from various worlds were not weak either. Some of them waved their hands in the air, accompanied by a crisp voice. It started to rain in the prairie. The wind was strong and the storm was like a meteor crashing down. It's Tang Yue. Kill! Many geniuses' faces changed drastically. They looked forward and saw that under the storm, a large number of enemy soldiers were shot full of holes. The power of law had probably reached 200 million. But a heavy rain, a massacre. One move had killed nearly 3,000 enemy soldiers. Moreover, the number of deaths was still increasing. Swoosh! Swoosh! Many people gasped when they saw this. One was more terrifying than the other. This was not the strength of the boundary essence. What if the boundary essence was used? This was obviously unimaginable. Killing 2,000 enemy soldiers in one move, you'll get 2,000 military merits. Princess Tang Yue, your ranking has risen quite a bit. However, I'll also embarrass myself. Roar! A young man in a red robe said with a smile. He opened his mouth and a fire dragon appeared. This was an extremely strong Xian body. Pop! Pop! The power of law suddenly erupted, reaching 200 million. The surging fire dragon wreaked havoc in the prairie. Wherever it passed, the enemy soldiers were not burned to death, but directly exploded. The fire dragon swept through the enemy soldiers, causing 5,000 enemy soldiers to die. Death continued to spread in the prairie. However, no one showed mercy. Firstly, this was a battle between two armies. If they showed mercy, they would not have appeared here. Secondly, according to the commander of the Martial Gods Battalion, the 13 commanderies were not good people. They had once slaughtered people from more than 10 worlds. Every one of them had a lot of blood on their hands. With these two factors added together, the geniuses from various worlds naturally slaughtered them mercilessly. Chess pieces should be on the chessboard. How can they jump out of the chessboard and go against the wishes of the chess player? Swoosh! At this moment, a mysterious power of law spread out and surged forward like a tide. Instantly, tens of thousands of enemy soldiers in front of them changed and attacked their own people. They were like chess pieces that were controlled by others. This was the chess boy's move. His move was even more terrifying because it had already killed tens of thousands of people. Moreover, the enemy soldiers under his control were also assisting him, causing his military merits to continuously increase. Chapter 2191. The Invincible Mirror King Dai. However, compared to the chessboard, Wu Qingzi's attack was swift and decisive. Every word that came out of his mouth was like a heavenly order. Boom! 100,000 people fell in an instant, their souls shattered, and they were deader than dead. Chess boy, you are too weak. Wu Qingzi looked at the chess boy in disdain, as if he was above everyone's heads after killing 100,000 of the enemy troops. Wu Qingzi, that's all you got. Taizu's long fist. However, Wu Qingzi was not the most dazzling one among the hundreds of schools of thought. A fist technique appeared on the ground, transforming into a gigantic fist that could wipe out an entire army. Clang! 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 That fist seemed to be able to break the world with a single punch. Everywhere it passed, no one could stop it. It's Taizu's son. The geniuses from all over the world became excited, and they cheered continuously. That punch had already cleared out a part of the great grassland. This was a terrifying result. That punch had clearly caused the other top geniuses' expressions to change drastically. Their rankings had been suppressed once again. Even the chess boy's expression turned ugly. At present, except for falling flowers and flowing water sword, no one else could stop Di Bai Mo's pride. First place is mine. Staring at the result of his punch, Di Bai Mo walked toward the great prairie as if he was the ruler of the world. It was as if he was already the leader of the emperors. Flowing water. However, at this moment, a sword told him that he, Di Bai Mo, was still a step away from taking first place and surpassing everyone else. Crash! The flood swept across the grassland, causing the enemy soldiers' flesh and blood to explode and their bones to shatter. That sword had clearly cleared an area. It was the falling flowers flowing water sword. He also held his sword and walked forward, exuding the carefree, cold, and elegant aura of a sword immortal. His sword also told everyone that he was still number one. Unless someone killed the lords of the two commanderies, no one would be able to take his position as number one. Bastard! The geniuses below the falling flowers flowing water sword shouted one after another. They were unwilling to accept this. Kill! Although these monstrous geniuses attacked ferociously and instantly killed over 1 million enemies, there were over 100 million enemies. Therefore, they still charged over like ferocious beasts. According to the martial gods battalion's mission, they had to retreat in the face of so many enemies. However, no one retreated. No one wanted to throw away their pride. They still chose to fight. They wanted to obtain the number 1 military merit. Damned scout! At that moment, the prairie began to shake. A man riding a black dragon appeared. He was wearing white armor, which was a stark contrast to the black dragon. After he appeared, the enemy stopped and knelt before the man. My king! Their loud shouts reverberated throughout the world. The Lord of the Commandery has appeared. The expressions of all the geniuses changed drastically. Another Commandery Lord had appeared. 7th stage of the Martial Emperor realm, I wonder how much of my realm essence has been converted. The Commandery Lords that we killed previously had about 10% of their realm essence. However, the next Commandery Lord will be even more powerful. I'm afraid his realm essence has reached 20%. This is a strong opponent. However, if we kill him, we will obtain the number 1 military merit. The eyes of the top geniuses were filled with fighting spirit. Although the enemy was not to be underestimated, martial artists had to face difficulties head-on. The more difficult it was to cross the sea, the more the martial artists had to cross it. This person belongs to me. Are you daydreaming? This supremacy belongs to me. Kill him, and I will obtain the number 1 military merit. DBIMO and the other geniuses flew over. This time, they exploded with their realm essence. Apparently, the power of the rules was not of much help to the Commandery Lord. Only the realm essence could kill him. Boom! They were all fighting to obtain the military merit. It was a pity that the king was not weak. Mirror! The man let out a low roar and a mysterious eye appeared on his forehead. The eyeball looked left and right as if it was looking down on all living things. It was as if the eye didn't belong to the man but had its own intelligence. Clang! A huge crystal interface appeared and blocked in front of him. Almost at the same time, a sword slashed out. It was Luo Hualu's sword. However, the mirror-like crystal interface blocked that sword strike, and it even sent back a powerful energy of world essence. Puff! The power hit him instantly. Luo Hualu was unable to react in time and was injured. Ha! You have been eliminated. Ha! Seeing this, the chess boy and the others could not help but laugh. They took the opportunity to attack. They split into 4 different directions and charged at the man. Clang! What was frightening was that the man seemed to have eyes all around his body. Strangely, a mirror appeared and blocked all of the boundary energy. Moreover, the boundary energy was reflected back, injuring many geniuses, 20% of the realm essence. When the geniuses fell to the ground, their faces changed drastically. No wonder the martial god battalion did not approve of them killing the Commandery Lords. It turned out that the Commandery Lords were really powerful. I am the Dark Glasses King. Do you think you can kill me? The man stepped out and said in a deep voice. Kill! 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 Behind him, the morale of the army was greatly boosted. When they looked at the geniuses, they became silent. Kill him! DBIMO gritted his teeth and shouted. Kill! Instantly, hundreds of geniuses rushed out and tried to kill the Mirror King with their numbers. Puff! Puff! Unfortunately, they were going to die. Anyone who came would die. Any attack that landed on the Mirror King's body would be reflected and the power would be doubled. Therefore, the geniuses who attacked were killed by the reflected power. In fact, they were killed by their own power. He is invincible. The chess boy and the others looked serious. However, it was useless to kill so many small fries. Only by killing the commandery lord could they obtain military merits. Therefore, they did not want to give up. With our strength, we are no match for him one-on-one. However, we can join forces. Whoever kills him will get the military merits. What do you think? Luo Hualu suggested. Okay. However, the first military merit will still be mine. Let's wait and see. The others nodded. Everyone had this opportunity. Of course, the prerequisite was that they were not afraid of death and had not been killed by the Mirror King. Luo Hua, Rouge Point. Luo Hua Lu was the first to attack. With more than 10% of the realm essence, his attack broke out. The sword light turned into a rouge point and stabbed out. Clang! However, the sword was blocked once again. Moreover, the rouge point shot toward Luo Hua Lulu. Luo Hua Lulu's face changed drastically. He raised his sword to block it. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood and blocked the rouge point. So powerful. Chapter 2192. Lin Ling's move, attack. The other geniuses didn't want to be outdone. They attacked the Mirror King from all angles, trying to tire him out by taking turns. But to their surprise, the Mirror Monarch was invincible. Whether it was in the sky or on the ground, a mirror could appear at any angle, reflecting any power. Furthermore, the mirrors could also reflect the power of laws. It was too heaven-defying. There is absolutely no invincible person in the martial god world. The reason why we can't do anything to him is that we haven't found his weakness. Again. Mo shouted angrily. Indeed, there are quite a few unrivaled ones. However, the prerequisite is that your world essence is stronger than mine. Unfortunately, you all only have 10% of your world essence. In fact, many of you don't even have 10%. The Mirror King let out a disdainful snort and stepped forward, wanting to crush him. Go kill him. The geniuses of various worlds immediately attacked again. The new wave of attacks was obviously ineffective. However, the second wave of attacks followed, and the result was the same. Instead, it caused many geniuses to suffer heavy injuries. Even the top geniuses like Wu Qingzi were injured. Now, they only had one choice, and that was to flee. However, they were unwilling to give up. Moreover, they didn't want to lose face like this. After all, they wanted to do a better job in this year's Martial God Battalion's mission and make the higher-ups feel proud of them. At this moment, the Grand Commanders of the Martial Gods Battalion looked at the sand table with solemn expressions on their faces. They'd noticed that many geniuses had gathered at a certain location on the prairie, and the Lord of a Commandery had appeared there. From the looks of it, it seems to be the Mirror Monarch. That guy is invincible against martial artists with lower realms than him. Do we need to mobilize the army? The time has come. Let's wait and see. Who knows, maybe we'll get the first military merit. That's right. So far, no one has killed the lords of two commanderies. How can there be no winner? In my opinion, that commandery lord was killed by the falling flowers flowing water sword in the end. In your dreams. How about a bet? Those senior commanders were still keeping an eye on the scouts in their camps. They had completely forgotten that it was time for them to move out. Kill. Kill him. All of you, go now. At this moment, countless geniuses on the prairie were staring at Mirror Emperor. They didn't dare to act rashly. Mo roared again and ordered the other geniuses to attack. As for the top geniuses, they were all preparing for the next wave of attacks. Kill. After hesitating for a moment, many geniuses attacked again because Di Bimo's background was not small. From a certain point of view, they were all Di Bimo's men. What are you guys waiting for? Go! Di Bimo saw that there were a few people standing there motionless and immediately shouted angrily again. Lin Ling, are you going? Those people were Lin Ling and the others. Fairy Danxia immediately looked at Lin Ling and said. If it was a one-on-one battle, they definitely wouldn't dare to fight. However, if there were many of them, the danger wouldn't be too great. Go! Lin Ling looked ahead and pondered for a moment before nodding. All right. They followed the large number of geniuses and charged towards the Mirror Monarch. Don't fight head-on. If you can't kill the Mirror Monarch, retreat and buy us time to rest. Of course, if you can kill the Mirror Monarch, the battle merit will be yours. Almost at the same time, the Falling Flowers Flowing Water Sword's voice rang out, reminding the geniuses to attack. All right. Those geniuses nodded one after another. Then, a terrifying power of the law erupted, shaking the heavens and the earth. Seeing the geniuses flying towards him, the Mirror Monarch smiled disdainfully. He didn't order the army to attack and continued to block all the geniuses by himself. This wasn't him being arrogant, but he had absolute confidence in his own strength. Rumble. A large number of law and boundary essence attacks came. A terrifying thing happened. Mirrors appeared one after another. No matter what angle the attacks came from, the Mirror Monarch could block them all. Puff! The backlash caused those geniuses to spit out blood and their bodies to fly backwards. Some of them were even killed by their own power. This scene was exactly the same as before. Fairy Danxia, Lu Qingfeng, remember, don't use your full strength. Lin Ling pounced forward and quickly reminded him at the same time. All right. Lu Qingfeng and the rest nodded immediately. Lin Ling saw that the more power they used, the more terrifying the backlash. If they were careless, they could easily die. Therefore, it was safer to preserve some of their strength. Then, Lin Ling began to analyze. In terms of boundary essence, the Mirror Monarch surpassed everyone. Even Lin Ling admitted that his boundary essence was inferior to the Mirror Monarch's. However, the Mirror King's realm essence seemed to be endless and could not be exhausted at all. The most important thing was that he could sense any attack, and that was the most terrifying thing. Because it was like wearing a thick set of armor. Therefore, if they couldn't break the armor, they wouldn't be able to kill the Mirror Monarch. Lin Ling frowned. Although he had killed a Commandery Monarch, he saw that he had killed the other geniuses. Therefore, to be safe, he had to kill another Commandery Monarch. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to enter the top 10. As for the ranking, he didn't care. It was fine as long as he could enter the top 10. There must be a loophole. While thinking, Lin Ling had already appeared in front of the Mirror Monarch. He slapped out with his left hand and the underworld flame formed a circle and attacked the Mirror Monarch. Clang! Before it got close to the Mirror Monarch, a mirror appeared. This scene was the same as when the others attacked. Moreover, the mirror reflected the underworld flame's boundary essence. Lin Ling, be careful. Seeing this, Fairy Danxia and the others called out to him. However, Lin Ling didn't have the time to listen to their voices because the underworld flame reflected by the mirror had already swept towards him. Evasion Realm. Suddenly, Lin Ling had an idea. He released his soul power and formed a 100% evasion realm. This was a soul power martial art, not the boundary essence or the power of boundary essence. Even the Mirror Lord was taken aback by this turn of events. Then, Lin Ling actually dodged the attack. This surprised Lin Ling. The Mirror Monarch didn't seem to be invincible. Heavenly Tao. Seeing this, Lin Ling didn't retreat. In a spurt of energy, he once again erupted with the power of boundary essence. Rumble. Without a doubt, when the underworld flame hit the mysterious mirror, the mirror also reflected the underworld flame. However, Lin Ling dodged it again. Looking at the scene in front of them, the geniuses from all over the world were dumbfounded. Many of them even had their mouths wide open. Some were also rubbing their eyes. This was because this was the first time someone had attacked twice in a row. Moreover, not only did he not die, he didn't even suffer any injuries. Moreover, like Lin Ling, others had tried to avoid the mirror's boundary essence, but no boundary essence martial art had much effect. They would still be hit by the mirror's boundary essence. Now, the mysterious youth had dodged it. Could it be that he didn't use a boundary essence martial art? What are you? The mirror monarch's expression changed slightly. Boundary essence. Lin Ling didn't answer him. Instead, he slashed with his sword. Chapter 2193. Miracle Rumble. The mirror appeared again and blocked Lin Ling's boundary essence sword. Dodge domain. At the critical moment, Lin Ling unleashed his soul force and dodged again. He didn't know if it was because he dodged too quickly or if it was for some other reason, but this time, he used up a lot of soul force. However, the Mirror King was already in his eyes. Die. Seeing Lin Ling break his mirror, the Mirror King was furious. He had been wary of Falling Flowers' flowing water sword and the others, but he didn't expect this ugly guy to be so strong. Pop pop pop. He punched out, causing the void to explode. Ripples spread out. His palm was filled with rhombus-shaped mirrors, forming a powerful world origin energy. This world origin energy was 20% of his strength. Lin Ling couldn't block it at all. Dodge domain. In a flash, Lin Ling shouted in his heart. He knew he couldn't be hit by the Mirror King's palm or he would die. At the critical moment, he dodged again and disappeared. He disappeared in a strange way. He dodged the boundary essence too. The Mirror King finally felt that something was wrong. Where did this evil kid come from? The geniuses in the distance also widened their eyes. This guy was so fierce. Your heaven-defying mirror boundary essence actually came from your eyes. Almost at the same time, a cold voice rang out above the mirror monarch's head. Then, a sword stabbed down fiercely. Ah! The sword came without any warning. It was as if it had appeared above the Mirror King's head. The Mirror King didn't have time to react. By the time he realized it, it was already too late. The sword smoothly stabbed into the eye on his forehead, causing the eye to scream. It turned into a wisp of smoke and disappeared without a trace. You broke my mystic eye. Die for me. The Mirror King's voice became crazier and crazier. He attacked randomly, causing the prairie to shake. He never thought that this ant would be a dazzling dark horse. Lin Ling's face changed. He quickly used the 9 steps of the demonic god. Leaving the Mirror King was the right way. Rumble. Terrifying spatial energy gushed out in all directions. Everyone could see that the Mirror Emperor seemed to have gone mad. In addition, he was chasing after Lin Ling. Clearly, among all the geniuses here, the one he wanted to kill the most was Lin Ling. Because Lin Ling had destroyed his eyes. Without the eye, he could no longer use the mirror as he wished. The Mirror Emperor's invincibility seems to be gone. Falling Flowers' flowing water sword and the others were also surprised by the miracle created by Lin Ling. Then, they all reacted and immediately attacked. The result was that they didn't use any more mirrors. Without the heaven-defying defensive mirror, no matter how strong the Mirror King was, he couldn't withstand the continuous battles. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he was covered in injuries. Kill. Protect the king. At this moment, the army had charged over as well because they'd noticed that something was wrong with the Mirror King. They'd never imagined that the mysterious young man would create such a miracle. The first military merit belongs to me. It's still too early to decide who will emerge victorious. Mirror Emperor, die. Now was the best time to kill the Mirror Emperor. Chess Boy and the others erupted with all their strength in an attempt to obtain the final military merit. The other geniuses were the same. As long as they dealt the final fatal blow, that person would be able to obtain the military merit. The Mirror Emperor ignored the attacks around him. Instead, he looked around for Lin Ling's figure. He wanted nothing more than to kill Lin Ling. However, he was getting weaker and weaker. Gradually, the most crucial moment arrived. All the geniuses' eyes lit up as they prepared for the most fatal blow. However, at this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded above the Mirror Emperor's head. "You're looking for me." This voice appeared without warning. It wasn't a nomological martial art, nor was it a spatial energy martial art. Instead, it was a soul force martial art that could dodge a domain. Along with this voice, the sword ruthlessly stabbed down. Lin Ling had appeared once again and was about to use the most fatal sword strike. Seeing this, all the geniuses' hearts exploded. The mysterious young man was about to attack. He wanted to snatch the military merit. Bastard, he's taking advantage of the situation. It's fine. With his strength, he won't be able to kill the Mirror Emperor. The first military merit will be given to the few of us. That's right. Although the Mirror Emperor is injured, he's not someone an ordinary genius can kill. However, the top geniuses soon relaxed. If one wanted to kill the Mirror Emperor, then their spatial energy had to be extremely powerful. Pucci. However, as soon as their voices fell, the sword shot down like a meteor. Although Mirror King's head appeared with boundary essence to block it, the heavily injured Mirror King was clearly unable to block the sword. His head was pierced through by the sword, causing blood to spurt out like a fountain. Seeing this, the entire battlefield fell silent. Seizing the enemy's head with a single sword strike, such a miraculous thing had happened. Moreover, the person who attacked had broken through the Mirror Emperor's powerful spatial energy. That's right, this was indeed a miracle. Put on. When the Mirror Emperor's tall body fell down, everyone finally reacted. Their gazes landed on a blue-robed youth. His long hair was fluttering in the wind, and his sword was dripping with blood. Another genius ranked in the top 10 had appeared. This. Falling flowers, flowing water, and the others were all stunned. Veins popped out on their foreheads. Their military merit had been stolen by the mysterious youth. Moreover, he had stolen it so quickly that they couldn't react at all. Goodbye. At this moment, Lin Ling calmly said. He used the 9 celestial demon steps and hurriedly ran towards the grassland. He knew very well that the reason he could kill the Mirror Emperor so easily was because of his left eye. His 10,000 demonic eyes allowed him to gradually see the flaws of the mirrors. The Mirror Emperor is dead? Kill. Seeing the Mirror Emperor fall, the warriors from the commanderies gradually reacted. Then, they were all furious. They charged forward fearlessly, wanting to slaughter everyone. Seeing the army charging towards them, the faces of all the geniuses turned ugly. They had worked so hard for half a day, but in the end, it was all for someone else. Most importantly, although the mysterious youth had stolen the military merit, without him, they wouldn't have been able to break the Mirror Emperor's mirror. Therefore, although the youth seemed to have stolen the military merit, he deserved it. Who the hell is that guy? D.Mo stood there in a daze. It was as if he had seen his beloved object being stolen by someone else. Then, he roared angrily. He was unwilling, extremely unwilling. Most importantly, he realized that the mysterious youth had acted on his orders. This was undoubtedly extremely ironic. If he had known that he had randomly summoned someone to steal his military merit, he wouldn't have let Lin Ling do it. He had shot himself in the foot. Chapter 2194. An unimaginable existence, another genius has entered the top 10. Looks like there are more and more competitors. I'm really looking forward to the battle of the divine list in a year's time. I'd like to see who that guy is. Falling Blossom Flowing Water Sword narrowed his eyes. He had been dreaming about the scene after he won the first military merit. In his mind, the first military merit belonged to none other than him. Who knew that it was actually just a dream? On the contrary, another dark horse had entered the top 10. Of course, if he knew that Lin Ling had already killed 2 lords of commanderies, he would never be able to calm down. At the same time, the commanders in the martial gods' camp started shouting because they had also seen the lords of commanderies fall. It's Falling Blossom Flowing Water Sword. I think he's a chess boy. Nonsense. Bullshit. He's the ruthless son in my camp. Those senior commanders were extremely excited, and once again began to fight fiercely. Among the commanders, Huang Qi frowned. He was not to be outdone and was about to say something. However, the old man next to him patted him on the shoulder and said, "Brother Huang, don't get involved in this. There are no experts in your camp." Hearing this, Huang Qi became depressed. Were the scouts in his camp really that bad? What are you doing? At this moment, a roar suddenly sounded. It was louder than the war drums. Then, a white-haired old man in black armor walked into the camp angrily. "General! General!" Seeing this, all the commanders' faces changed dramatically and they quickly saluted. The old man was extremely powerful and was their superior. "Laugh, laugh, laugh your ass. What time is it now? Why hasn't the army moved out? Don't you know that the lords of the 13 commanderies have moved out? Do you want all the scouts we just recruited to die on the prairie?" The old man cursed loudly and his roar was as loud as thunder. Hearing this, all the grand commanders narrowed their eyes. They had been gambling and had forgotten to move out the army. This was a serious crime. Because the army moved out slowly, if all the lords of the 13 commanderies moved out, the scouts on the prairie would be in danger. In fact, with their strength, the 13 commanderies were just meat in their mouths and could be eliminated at any time. That was why they were not in a hurry and just watched the new scouts create miracles. "Move out now. General." After that, the grand commanders hurriedly shouted. Dong dong dong. In the camp, the drums sounded. The army had finally moved out. The old man was still exasperated at their failure to live up to his expectations. These guys had rebelled. However, when he looked at the sand table, a smile appeared on his dignified face. This group of scouts had many good seedlings. They had actually killed 5 lords of commanderies, especially the Mirror King, who was extremely difficult to kill. Not good. General. Then, the old man shouted in a low voice. Through the sand table, he saw that the terrifying existence of the 13th commandery had made his move. Moreover, that powerful being was heading in a certain direction. It seemed like he wanted to avenge the Mirror Lord. This meant that the scout was in danger. This scout should be the one who killed the Mirror King. I have to protect him no matter what. He disappeared from where he was and pounced on the prairie like a lion. Wherever he went, no one could stop him. Countless enemy soldiers were killed. Even the siege chariots were not as scary as the old man. At this moment, Lin Ling was running wildly in the prairie, with an army chasing after him. However, after 2 hours, the army had disappeared. They had disappeared in a strange manner. The surroundings suddenly became quiet. Black clouds had unknowingly appeared in the sky. A huge octopus-like beast was floating there. Upon closer inspection, a woman was quietly floating within the thick tentacles. The woman's hair was like a snake, and her cold and emotionless eyes were staring at Lin Ling. "It's you who killed the Mirror King." A piercing voice came from the sky and Lin Ling's face changed dramatically. What a powerful force! He instantly guessed that it must be an extremely powerful force in the 13 commanderies. What Mirror King? Senior, what are you talking about? Lin Ling suddenly laughed. He was definitely not going to admit it now. You don't need to hide it. With my strength, it's not difficult to find out who the murderer is. The woman coldly said. So that's how it is. But let me tell you, the one who killed the Mirror King was not me, but him. Lin Ling nodded, seeming to admit it. He suddenly pointed to the other side of the sky, causing the woman to frown. At the same time, she turned her head to look, but there was nothing in the sky. When she turned back, she suddenly found that Lin Ling had disappeared. What a cunning junior. You actually used a diversion tactic. But can you escape? The queen-like existence knew that she had been tricked. Suddenly, countless tentacles shot out from her body and ran on the ground like spiders, chasing after Lin Ling with terrifying speed. At this moment, Lin Ling's face was extremely solemn. With his strength, he had actually encountered such a terrifying existence. This should be a World King-level powerhouse. Therefore, he didn't hesitate and ran away. This was the first time he had encountered such a powerful martial artist since coming to the martial god world. Whoosh! At this time, a black beam of light shot out. The suppressive strength was terrifying, as if it were the strength of an entire world. This is bad. Shit. Lin Ling's complexion changed. He gathered all of his soul force and formed an evasion domain. Only then was he able to narrowly avoid the black beam of light. As the beam of light fell to the ground, it gradually vanished without a trace. However, Lin Ling could see with his left eye that this beam of light wasn't so simple. Thinking about it, this great prairie that was millions of miles underground had already been corroded away. Then, Lin Ling shook his head and stopped. He sat down and picked up a jug of wine to drink. This was because the Spider King powerhouse had already appeared behind him. Run! Why aren't you running? As he thought, the giant spider-like existence had already appeared behind him. Looking carefully, although this woman with snake-like hair seemed evil, her figure was also extremely good. Her twin peaks and between her legs were covered with a massive amount of spider silk, revealing an extremely alluring waist. If it weren't for the fact that this woman had come to kill him, Lin Ling, then Lin Ling might have slowly admired her. I'm tired, so I'm not running away. Lin Ling smiled as he poured a mouthful of wine into his mouth. But as the woman saw Lin Ling's carefree appearance, she was a bit surprised. If an ordinary person encountered her, which one of them wouldn't be terrified? They would even kneel down and beg for mercy. But this boy was actually so carefree. He didn't even run away and directly drank. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? The woman coldly said. If I was afraid, wouldn't you have killed me? Lin Ling still smiled. His words left the woman stunned once more. Chapter 2195. The arrival of a general. Instantly, he vaguely saw that the woman had a mysterious aura. It was as if she was a world of her own, and the pressure she gave off was extremely strong. A world? Lin Ling was secretly shocked. If he had to give an example, then that was equivalent to the power of his world, the power of the entire world. Huh. However, although Lin Ling was secretly investigating, the woman's eyes flashed. She saw that the young man's left eye was different. There were a large number of Dao talismans in his pupil, like countless little tadpoles swimming in them. Of course, such an eye was not strange at all. However, she had seen those eyes before. Because it was one of the 6 great god eyes of Huan Yu. Most importantly, she knew the owner of those eyes. "You are Li Xiaoyao," the woman exclaimed in shock. This time, it was Lin Ling's turn to be surprised. He never thought that a random expert he met in the martial god realm would actually know Li Xiaoyao. "Who is Li Xiaoyao? But if you say so, then so be it." Lin Ling forced himself to calm down and smiled faintly. If it were anyone else, they would definitely be deceived by Lin Ling's appearance and think that they had guessed wrongly. However, the Spider Queen was very sure of her guess. She seemed to be very familiar with Li Xiaoyao. "There's no need for you to hide anymore. You are Li Xiaoyao. Because of the myriad devil eyes, other than him, no one else has it. In addition, you also have the divine steel of time." That female coldly laughed, her words causing Lin Ling to smile bitterly in his heart. Most importantly, was that woman a friend or foe? However, no matter how he looked at it, the woman seemed to be the enemy. "No matter what, are you going to kill me next?" Lin Ling raised his head and said again. "Ha ha ha, killing you would be letting you off too easily. I won't miss out on your 10,000 mammoths' devil eyes." The woman seemed to be extremely excited. "We lost the 13 commanderies, but we got the all-encompassing demonic eyes. This trip is quite rewarding." She seemed to want to take Lin Ling away, and the result of being taken away, Lin Ling could well imagine. Right now, Lin Ling only had one choice, and that was to flee. Unfortunately, he seemed to be unable to escape as well. "Be my captive." The woman clearly didn't want to waste her breath. With a low shout, she shot a large amount of spider silk at Lin Ling. At the same time, she stared coldly at Lin Ling. However, she discovered that Lin Ling was still very calm, too calm. It had to be said that even if that young man wasn't Li Xiaoyao, with his calm temperament, he would definitely achieve great things in the future. 3 Realms Martial God Blade. However, just as the spider silk was getting closer and closer to Lin Ling, a huge saber slashed down from the sky. That slash was earth-shattering. In fact, Lin Ling even saw that the saber actually drew upon the power of the 3 realms. It was so terrifying. Whoosh! The spider silk was forcefully severed by the saber, but the saber didn't stop there. It continued to slash at the queen like a raging storm. "It's you." The queen seemed to know the person who attacked, and her expression changed drastically. "Queen Qianji, go to hell." A white-haired old man wearing dragon and tiger black armor appeared. He was like the emperor of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. His saber had the power of dragons and tigers, and it slashed the ground furiously. 1000 transformation. The queen kept waving her jade-like hands and formed a spider web. Only then did she manage to block the saber. The power of the saber cut the grassland into pieces. It was a shocking sight. As expected of the great general of the martial god battalion, Huang Fuidao. "I will remember this saber today. See you again." The queen also spat out a mouthful of blood. Her eyes narrowed, and her body exploded. She turned into countless small spiders and escaped in all directions. "Kid, I will come and find you again." The queen's voice echoed throughout the area. It was extremely seductive, but it was like a blood-stained rose that could only be seen from afar. The old man was wearing a black cloak and holding a saber in his hand. He looked majestically into the distance. "I didn't kill her in one strike. This Queen Qianji is stronger than I thought. Of course, I underestimated her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to block my saber either." His voice was like metal clashing, and it was extremely domineering. In fact, he thought that the leader of the 13 commanderies was only this strong. That was why he underestimated her. Otherwise, he would have killed the queen a long time ago. As for Lin Ling, as he watched the 2 World King level powerhouses collide, his heart shook. When would he be able to possess such strength? Whoosh! The wind howled in the grassland, proving the terrifying battle that happened just now. She will come back to find you. Kid, did you take advantage of her? She actually came back to find you with her strength. Soon, the old man looked at Lin Ling in surprise. Although Lin Ling was not weak in this group of scouts, he was still an ant compared to Queen Qianji. He didn't have the qualifications to be found by her. That was why he was surprised by what she said before she ran away. Moreover, he looked at Lin Ling and found that Lin Ling was extremely calm throughout the whole process. He didn't panic, nor was he surprised. It was as if he was looking at the most ordinary thing. This little scout was really a freak. No, I don't know why she is looking for me. Lin Ling quickly replied. He also guessed that the domineering old man was not simple, so he didn't dare to be negligent. As for why the queen was looking for him, Lin Ling also guessed the reason. Of course, he wouldn't say it out loud. Strange, it's really strange. Is it because you are more handsome? Kid, I have to remind you, lust is a knife. She is a powerful queen, so she is just playing with you. The old man stroked his chin, which made Lin Ling speechless. Oh right, you killed Mirror King. TSK, TSK. You are only a stage 5 martial emperor. You are indeed powerful. Fortunately, I came here in time. Otherwise, you might have been eaten by Queen Qianji. Then, the old man laughed again. Hearing this, Lin Ling felt warm in his heart. The old man was so powerful, but he came personally for him. Lin Ling would remember this kindness. However, this also meant that the old man treated his soldiers like his own children. Thank you, senior. Lin Ling quickly bowed. With that old man's seniority, even if Li Xiaoyao was here, he would still have to call him senior. Therefore, Lin Ling was completely convinced by him. Go back. Now that the army is out, the 13 commanderies will be destroyed. You scouts should be rewarded for your military exploits. Kid, you can face Queen Qianji calmly. I have high hopes for you. The old man smiled and a few silk banners appeared in his right hand. You killed the ruler of a commandery, so you can be rewarded with a black token banner. Senior, can I be in the top 10? Lin Ling quickly asked. Absolutely. Senior. Hearing this, Lin Ling felt relieved. He stared at the black silk banners and asked, what's the use of this banner? Senior. Chapter 2196. White Order Banner, it's that fierce. Lin Ling sucked in a breath of cold air. The Martial God Battalion had countless powerhouses, they definitely had their own set of cultivation methods. If he could enter, then Lin Ling's strength would greatly increase. As for divine crystals, no one would complain about having too many of them. Then, he looked at the other banners in the old man's hands. These banners were of different colors, so they should have different effects. He asked, what is that white banner? White banner. A scout commander can summon all scouts to lead troops into battle. Moreover, they can enter a martial arts training ground and choose any martial arts they wish. Moreover, this banner is also an immortal weapon. It can withstand 3 attacks from a World King powerhouse. Every month, the reward is 300 divine crystals. The old man proudly said. Unfortunately, this banner has been in my hands for many years and I haven't conferred it. This is because the Scout Commander title I confer is different from the Scout Commander titles others confer. The significance is much greater. Unfortunately, in order for me to confer the Scout Commander title, their military merits must be even more dazzling. White banner. The old man shook his head again, a bit regretfully saying, over the years, not a single scout has been able to obtain this white banner. This is because a scout's mission is to investigate the enemy, not to exterminate them. Thus, those that can exterminate the leader of the enemy are mostly rewarded with a black banner. As for exterminating 2 enemy leaders, that is the only way to obtain a white banner. White banner. At this time, Lin Ling's pupils constantly flashed. A white banner was the symbol of a scout commander. It allowed him to lead troops into battle. This meant that he, Lin Ling, could lead troops back to his own world. Moreover, he could enter the martial god battalion at will to practice martial arts. This was a great advantage. And most importantly, it could withstand 3 attacks from a world king powerhouse. Every month, he would receive 300 divine crystals. Suddenly, Lin Ling's eyes turned red. Huh, are you jealous? White banner. The old man wasn't surprised by Lin Ling's excited appearance. This was because everyone knew the effects of a white banner. What a pity. This banner can only be sealed in ice with me. Go back. Go back. With the Black Order banner, you are also an existence revered by people, a hero of the army. White banner. The old man waved his hand, already planning to leave. Wait. Lin Ling hurriedly shouted. What? Haven't you seen enough yet? You don't have to worry. With your talent, this banner will still belong to you within 500 years. The old man laughed and scolded. That scout boy is very anxious. No, I want to exchange it for a bearing banner. Lin Ling threw the black flag in his hand over and looked at the white flag with eager eyes. Seeing this, the old man immediately blew his beard. Did this guy not hear what I said before? Have you figured it out? If you want the banner, you have to kill 2 commandery lords. It would be a miracle if you scouts could kill 1 commandery lord. 2? Don't even think about it. The old man said solemnly. In fact, this was indeed the case. After the Mirror King appeared, all the scouts joined forces, but they still couldn't kill him. This explained everything. Take the banner and go back. Don't throw it around, it's a blasphemy against military might. The old man added. I want the white banner. However, Lin Ling seemed to be stubborn and threw the jade pendant hanging from his waist over. The jade pendant represented the identity of a scout and also recorded military merits. There is no joking in the military. Don't treat the military camp as your home. The old man's face was a little unhappy and impatient, but he still took the jade pendant and checked it. You killed a lot of enemy troops, but unfortunately, it's still not dazzling enough. You killed the Mirror King. Not bad, your military merits are enough to convince everyone, but that's all. The old man checked the jade pendant and said lightly. At the same time, he was about to throw the jade pendant back to Lin Ling. At this time, the jade pendant recorded that another commandery lord had died. This. The old man's pupils constricted instantly. He even rubbed his eyes to look at the jade pendant to see if he had misread it. However, according to the jade pendant's military merits, Lin Ling had indeed killed 2 commandery lords. This time, he was stunned. Which commandery lord is this? He exclaimed in surprise. 100,000 geniuses from all over the world as scouts had only killed 5 commandery lords, and 2 of them had been killed by the young man. He could not help but be shocked. The commandery lord called the 8-Gate Wicked King. Lin Ling said calmly, that guy jumped in front of me, and then I killed him. Killed him? Jumped out by himself? The old man's beard straightened. This was too simple. In fact, it was true. In the ancient city, the 8-Gate Wicked King appeared in front of Lin Ling by himself and was killed by Lin Ling. Good, good, good. The old man finally became excited. Was this still a scout? He could be called a great commander. This banner belongs to you. You will be the king of scouts and can summon all the scouts. At this moment, the old man seemed to see the birth of a general in the martial gods battalion, which made him extremely happy. Thank you, senior. Lin Ling received it with a smile and also became excited. Go back and let your military achievements shine in the martial gods battalion. The great commander above you will also be proud because of you. After the old man's excitement, he strode away. Lin Ling, on the other hand, smiled. He was very satisfied. The banner was in his hands. Although he did not know his ranking among the scouts, it was not important. What was important was that he had entered the top 10. This mission is finally completed, and my strength has greatly increased. After packing up, Lin Ling also left the prairie. He had entered the prairie as a rank for martial emperor. Now that his cultivation level had increased, and his control of realm essence had become more powerful. However, he still yearned for the old man's ability to extract the energy of a realm. He hoped that he could learn this martial art in the martial gods battalion. Along the way, Lin Ling finally saw what an army was like. A real army was like the collapse of heaven and earth. Wherever it passed, the enemy would be terrified. Compared to the scouts, one was the sky and the other was the earth. Thinking about it, the 13 commanderies must have been completely destroyed. However, thinking about the Spider Queen, Lin Ling still had a headache. He hoped that the Spider Queen had also fallen. Otherwise, he, Lin Ling, would be in danger. On the way to the martial gods battalion, the geniuses from various realms held their heads high. This was because they had survived the mission of blood and killing and had become a member of the martial gods battalion. Only trash dies in the mission. I heard that many people ran away. Now, they can only look up to us. The geniuses from various realms laughed and said. This was the truth. On the martial gods battalion, the geniuses from various realms who had run away at the beginning looked extremely gloomy and looked at others with admiration. It is said that 5 commanderies have died this time. 3 of them were killed by the falling flower flowing water sword, Wu Qingzi, and Di Baimo. They are really amazing. Our mission is to investigate the military situation, but in the end, they annihilated the head of the commandery. Comparisons are odious. Chapter 2197. I'm his boss. I don't know. One of the Mirror Kings was killed by a mysterious young man. TSK, it was a miracle. Yeah, I was there too. That young man has 10% of his realm essence. He's extremely powerful. Many people were talking about the scene of the Mirror King's death. They were extremely curious about that mysterious young man. As for the martial god battalion, Luo Hua, Flowing Water and the others had ugly expressions on their faces. The glory that belonged to them had been stolen by someone else. So now, they were also curious about the person who stole the military merit. At this moment, on the way to the martial god battalion, several figures were walking forward with smiles. They were Fairy Danxia and the others. Now, they had completed their mission, so they were very happy. Hey, isn't this Lu Qingfeng? Why aren't you dead? How surprising. At this moment, a disdainful voice came from the front. The few figures who were walking on the road stopped and looked at Lu Qingfeng and the others with faint smiles. It's you, Xiao Yi. Lu Qingfeng furrowed his brows. Lu Qingfeng, do you know them? Fairy Danxia stared at the few people and sensed that they were up to no good. I know them. We had some conflicts on the way to the martial god realm. Lu Qingfeng said in a low voice. Yeah, that's not a small matter. I was thinking about how to find you but you appeared in front of me. However, it's good that you didn't die in this mission. We can settle our old scores. The few people walked over. Judging by their strength, they were all rank 7 martial emperors. Obviously, they were stronger than Lu Qingfeng and the others. Seeing them walk over, even Pan Luyun knew that things were going to be troublesome. Fellow allies, we have all completed our missions. We are all members of the martial gods' camp. If you have any grievances, you can tell us. We can shake hands and be friends again. Fairy Danxia also sensed that these people were not weak, so she tried to smooth things over. Most importantly, with her status, she sensed that these were local geniuses from the central county. Compared to them in the past, Lord Su was clearly not much weaker in terms of status and strength. Lu Qingfeng, I didn't expect you to know an expert. No wonder you're so confident. Unfortunately, Fairy Danxia's attempt to smooth things over wasn't taken seriously by the youths. One of the youths with a face full of acne said, "Alliance? Who is your alliance? You're not worthy. Lu Qingfeng, let me tell you, if you don't kneel down and kowtow today, this will not end." That's right. Back then, we were drinking in the restaurant. We only reprimanded you once, and you poured wine on our heads. If it wasn't for the fact that the restaurant's manager was strong enough to protect you, we would have crippled you. So, no matter what kind of teammates you have to kneel before me today. If you make me unhappy, your teammates will also suffer. The others also said coldly. They didn't give Fairy Danxia any face. Don't go too far. Fairy Danxia didn't expect that her kind words of advice would be exchanged for this kind of treatment. Hehe, are you the leader of his team? You don't have the qualifications to speak. Of course, if you accompany me for a night, I might give you some face. The acne man laughed disdainfully. This is a good suggestion. Lu Qingfeng, ask your boss to accompany you to bed, and we'll let bygones be bygones. Laughter also drifted out, angering Fairy Danxia so much that her pretty face turned extremely ugly. Fairy Danxia, Pan Luyun, this has nothing to do with you. At this moment, Lu Qingfeng walked out, and stared coldly at the young men. He wanted to kneel down. If he was alone, he wouldn't kneel even if he was beaten to death. However, he had two teammates beside him, and he didn't want to bring trouble to his teammates. You're smart. Zhang Dezhuang, take off your shoes and slap his face. The acne man laughed mockingly. He could finally vent his anger. Lu Qingfeng, don't kneel. Fairy Danxia and Pan Luyun knew that Lu Qingfeng was arrogant. If it weren't for them, he would rather die than kneel. However, Lu Qingfeng only smiled at them and was about to kneel down. The young man named Zhang Dezhuang also walked out, swinging his sweaty shoes with a smile on his face. If the shoes hit Lu Qingfeng's face, it would be enough to make him suffer. Hehe, if you have any grudges, just fight. Don't you find it embarrassing to use someone else's teammates to threaten them? At this moment, a smiling voice was heard. Then, a foot seemed to break through the void and came from afar. It landed on Zhang Dezhuang's face, leaving a deep footprint, and sent him flying hundreds of meters away. Dong dong dong. In the eyes of the crowd, Zhang Dezhuang was rolling like a gourd. This scene caused everyone to be stunned. Lu Qingfeng looked around, and when he saw who it was, he was delighted. He hadn't expected to meet Lin Ling again. When the acne man came to his senses, he was furious. Who the fuck are you? He had never expected that someone would dare to attack them. After all, they had become members of the Martial God Battalion and were in high spirits. Moreover, the person who had come was unruly and had kicked them in the face. I'm their boss. Boss. The person who had come was Lin Ling, and he smiled faintly. Boss, you're their leader. Boss. Not only were the acne man not shocked, he was even more furious. No wonder this person was so arrogant. It turned out that he was standing up for Lu Qingfeng. So what if I'm the boss? I'll still fight you. Boss. The acne man shouted angrily. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a foot appeared in front of him. Along with the foot, a strong wind blew his hair up. Fast. The foot was incomparably fast. It was Lin Ling's 9 celestial demon steps. Although these people were rank 7 martial emperors, they weren't top geniuses. Therefore, Lin Ling didn't take them seriously. Bang! With one foot, the acne man was stomped to the ground. Lin Ling stepped on his face and said, "If you have any grudges, let's talk nicely and then fight. Threatening my teammates and attacking in private isn't a good habit." Bang! Hearing this, the young man's teammates were all dumbfounded. This young man who had come out of nowhere spoke nicely, but he had stepped on their leader and even rubbed his face with the sole of his shoe. How could this be considered talking nicely? Lu Qingfeng's boss seemed to be a very protective person. The guy who was being stepped on by Lin Ling roared, "Let me go if you dare." Bang! Hearing this, Lin Ling took a step back and let the guy get up. The guy looked at Lin Ling cautiously. Although Lin Ling gave people the impression that he wasn't very powerful, the previous kick made him realize that this evil young man wasn't simple. "Lu Qingfeng, you've got guts." Bang! Chapter 2198. Awarding military merits. Lin Ling smiled and said, "Save your words. How do you want to settle the grudge between you and Lu Qingfeng?" "Yes." His voice sounded kind, but it also carried a strong threat. The figures of those young men trembled, and they instinctively didn't dare speak any further. On the other hand, the young man with the acne shot through the air, and then he suddenly revealed a delighted expression. Because a large number of people were returning to the martial gods' camp in the distance, and he saw a familiar face amongst them. Most importantly, that acquaintance was stronger than him. He was an extremely dazzling genius among the local martial artists. As far as he knew, that genius had followed the falling flower flowing water sword to kill the Mirror King. For geniuses from all over the world, those who could kill the Mirror King were all of high status. "Senior Brother Chen, help me!" he shouted, which made his teammates beside him happy. It was Senior Brother Chen Yunzhang. "Oh, it's you, Xiao Yi. Congratulations on becoming a member of the martial gods' camp." Laughter came from afar. The leading young man looked over with a smile. "Thank you for your praise, Senior Brother Chen. But please help me now. After the matter is settled, you can come to my commandery as a guest. I will treat you with respect." The young man with acne said. "It's okay. You and I are both sons of the central commandery. I will help you with anything." The young man walked over with a few people. His face was extremely cold. "Huh, are you afraid now? Senior Brother Chen is with D by Mo, the son of the great ancestor. He also participated in the Battle of the Mirror King. He is someone you need to look up to. Now, do you have anything to say? Do you think that you can do whatever you want because our team is not strong? Let me tell you, we know a lot of strong teams. Now you are regretting it." The young man with acne and the others were in high spirits. Even Xiao Yi looked at Lu Qingfeng proudly and said, "Is it great that your boss is here? My boss is the powerful one." Lu Qingfeng and the others were silent. Lin Ling still had a smile on his face. He said lightly, "Why can't you talk nicely? You have to ask for help. But in this case, you will kneel down later. Lu Qingfeng, take off your stinky shoes and give each of you 3 slaps." The young man with acne and the others were not angry. Instead, they laughed. Lu Qingfeng's boss was simply crazy. "I don't even want to waste my breath on an idiot like you." Xiao Yi shook his head as he spoke. After Senior Brother Chen walked over with the others, he immediately flattered Senior Brother Chen. "Senior Brother Chen is mighty. You've finally arrived. These fellows actually said that they wanted Senior Brother Chen to kneel and slap your face with the soles of their shoes. How dare you? Senior Brother Chen was immediately enraged. The people beside him also looked angrily at Lin Ling and the others. However, in the next moment, Senior Brother Chen fell silent. His originally cold face gradually frowned. Then, his eyes gradually widened. In the end, his mouth dropped open. Actually, he didn't even know the name of the smiling young man before him. However, the young man looked very familiar to him. If I remember correctly, the Mirror King's head was chopped off by that young man during the battle. And that young man was one of the top 10 scouts among the 100,000 scouts. To this day, all the scouts who had participated in the Battle of the Mirror King were discussing the young man. Their opinions of the battle were directly described as a miracle. That young man was also known as the Miracle Child. He was a fellow that was equally famous as Falling Flower, Flowing Water, and the others. So, why would they offend such a fellow? Unless they were tired of living. Kneel down. Senior Brother Chen spoke hurriedly. Hear me? Kneel down. Xiao Yi grinned as he spoke. Moreover, he was rubbing his chin. He was thinking about which shoe to slap Lu Qingfeng and the others with. I'm talking about all of you. However, Senior Brother Chen's next words caused Xiao Ye's mouth to drop open. Senior Brother Chen, are you sure? All of you. Senior Brother Chen roared furiously and slapped Xiao Yi to the ground. On the other hand, the people by his side were furious as well, and they slapped the others to the ground. You actually asked me for help? Are you trying to get me killed? Senior Brother Chen spoke with disappointment, and then he smiled obsequiously as he gazed at Lin Ling. Scout, this isn't related to us. I hope you won't make a fuss about it. Make a fuss about it? Xiao Yi was flabbergasted. The backer he'd invited actually asked his opponent not to make a fuss about it. All of you can leave. Lin Ling waved his hand indifferently. Thank you. Thank you. We'll repay your kindness in the future. Senior Brother Chen and the others hurriedly bowed and revealed lucky expressions. On the other hand, Xiao Yi and the others felt like they were dreaming when they saw that. Senior Brother Chen, whom they looked up to, had actually thanked their enemy. Moreover, it was just a casual sentence from their enemy, and it made Senior Brother Chen and the others feel as if they'd received an extraordinary gift. If this wasn't a dream, then what was it? Take care of yourselves. Moreover, this matter isn't over. Senior Brother Chen paid no attention to Xiao Ye's flabbergasted expression, and he spoke coldly before he left with his group. Senior Brother Chen, why did you do that? Xiao Yi was on the verge of being stunned. He killed the Mirror Emperor. Senior Brother Chen spoke indifferently from afar. He killed the Mirror Emperor? In an instant, Xiao Yi and the others were flabbergasted, and it was even to the extent that their countenances turned ghastly pale. Killing the Mirror Emperor was undoubtedly one of the top 10, and it was an outstanding military merit. Never had they imagined that Lu Qingfeng's big brother's backer would be so formidable. Lu Qingfeng, speak nicely to them. Remember not to use force. If there's any enmity that you can't let go of, then let's fight. At this moment, Lin Ling didn't even spare a glance at Xiao Yi and the others, and he left with Fairy Danxia and the others. However, he'd left behind a single sentence: of course, if they're stubborn, then use your shoes to greet them. Alright, big brother. Lu Qingfeng had already started to remove his shoes, and he'd even sniffed both of them. The other one smelled worse, so he'd used it to slap their faces. On the other hand, Lin Ling and the others were heading towards the martial god's barracks, and the sound of drums shot into the sky as they approached. The surroundings were filled with armored soldiers with cold expressions and terrifying auras. Obviously, it was time to award the military merit. The battle hadn't started yet, but the entire square was filled with excited voices. As for the geniuses in the distance who'd been eliminated, they were looking at the scouts in the square with envy. After Lin Ling and the others arrived at the square, numerous gazes shot towards Lin Ling. Especially the geniuses who'd participated in the battle against the Mirror Emperor, their expressions were extremely solemn. Because they'd finally seen the mysterious miracle child once more. He's here. This fellow stole our military merit. Don't worry, no matter how strong he is, he's still inferior to us. Falling Flower, Flowing Water, and the others were staring at Lin Ling with eyes filled with rage. Because it was Lin Ling who'd stolen their military merit. However, even though they were furious, they relaxed when they thought about how Lin Ling was still inferior to them. Perhaps, this was the only consolation they had. As for Lin Ling, who was the center of attention, he had a calm expression on his face. It was as if he didn't know that he'd attracted the attention of all the scouts. Chapter 2199. Outstanding military exploits, that's right. No matter what kind of light you have, you will always be beneath me. Blossoming Flowing Water Sword also said, and then raised his thumb, and then pointed it down. This provocative attitude was undoubtedly extremely obvious. The crowd immediately began to discuss. They could see that the 10 strongest scouts were rejecting Lin Ling and disdaining Lin Ling. Of course, they could understand Falling Flowers and Flowing Water Sword's feelings. After all, it would be strange if they were in a good mood when their military merits were stolen. Then, everyone looked at Lin Ling, waiting to see how Lin Ling would refute. However, Lin Ling didn't even look at them. Instead, he was chatting with Fairy Danxia and the others. This type of disregard was clearly more infuriating than any rebuttal. Falling Flowers, Flowing Water, and the others were stunned. Veins popped out on their foreheads. That young man was too arrogant. Wait, your ranking will definitely be below mine. I'm waiting to see how you'll face me. That's right. At that time, I wonder if you'll still have the face to be arrogant. Even the chess boy could not help but speak up. He also felt that Lin Ling's silence was too arrogant. Lin Ling, on the other hand, remained indifferent. He was even chatting and laughing with Lu Chengfeng. Their laughter was extremely loud. In fact, Lin Ling didn't care about his ranking at all. Even if he was ranked 10th, he wouldn't feel any dissatisfaction because his goal was to enter the top 10, that was all. Lin Ling, the top 10 scouts are ostracizing you. They're suppressing your momentum. You've gone too far. You killed the Mirror King, so you deserved it. What right do they have to be so arrogant? I don't believe that you'll be ranked below them. Neither Fairy Danxia nor Lu Chengfeng were afraid of trouble, so they frowned. It doesn't matter. Scholarly honors won't last long. As long as I can get into the top 10, that's enough. Lin Ling smiled and shook his head. His indifferent appearance made Fairy Danxia and the others secretly admire him. Lin Ling's heart was higher than the heavens. This undoubtedly made Falling Flowers, Flowing Water, and the others furious again. They felt as if they had punched cotton, and they had nowhere to vent their anger. At least he knows his place. That's right. He entered the top 10 by luck. But in front of us, he doesn't dare to be arrogant. He directly admitted defeat. Trash. Soon after, the chess boy and the others laughed again. Although they were depressed, they also thought that Lin Ling had admitted defeat and did not dare to compete with them for the ranking. At the same time, 10 great commanders appeared in the distance. They strode over with majestic steps. The time to discuss merit had arrived. The entire square fell silent. Although the 10 commanders had solemn expressions on their faces, their hearts were filled with joy and excitement. They also wanted to see what level the scouts in the camp had reached. However, behind the commanders was a man with a gloomy expression who kept sighing softly. He was Commander Huang Qi. Don't sigh. Selecting soldiers is all about luck. This year, you, Huang Qi, are just unlucky. Next year, you'll definitely be able to do it all over again. An old man patted his shoulder and comforted him. Of course, you still have to treat us to the wine. Hearing this, Huang Qi's pupils constricted. Was this consolation? This was clearly ridicule. This was too much. Would he renege on the wine? Sigh. He could only say that the soldiers in his camp had failed to live up to expectations. If he had arrived earlier and seen the scene in the square, he would probably have jumped up in excitement. That was because the scouts in his camp were not completely worthless. After the 10 commanders sat down, the square became even more solemn. A murderous aura quietly filled the air. This was the true strength of the strong, and also the true iron-blooded aura of the military camp. Some of the weaker geniuses seemed to have stopped breathing when they were hit by this aura. Their faces turned pale. You have all done well in this mission. Finally, an old man spoke with a deafening voice. He was the Heavenly South Grand Commander of the 10 Grand Commanders. Thank you, sir. Orderly voices rang out. Everyone stood in an orderly manner with solemn expressions. The geniuses from all over the world who were watching from afar revealed envy. If they had not run away, they would also be members of the martial gods' camp. The martial gods' camp was extremely famous in the vast Qingzhou. To be able to become a member was undoubtedly an honor. Not only did you complete this mission perfectly, but you also created a miracle by eliminating several commandery lords. The martial gods' camp is proud of you. The old man spoke again. What he said next was nothing more than words of praise, which made all the scouts feel extremely proud. After the old man spoke, he took a sip of tea. The other commanders were also drinking tea. Seeing this, everyone became nervous. They knew that the main event was about to begin. Next would be the time to award the military merits. The top 10 scouts should have appeared. In fact, they were not the only ones who were nervous. Even the 10 commanders were extremely nervous. Rumble. At this moment, a black stone tablet emerged from the ground at the center of the square. This was the military merit tablet. It was used to record military merits, and it was extremely fair. Seeing this, everyone was even more expectant. The falling flowers flowing water sword in my camp will definitely rank first and obtain the highest military merit. Hehe, that might not be the case. It's too early to say who will be the winner. The other commanders spoke in low voices. They all wanted to drink the wine of the other party. The falling flowers flowing water sword and the others were naturally the same. They wanted to see what their ranking was. Therefore, all of them gave tit for tat. Look, a name has appeared. It's Kun Yun. At this moment, someone exclaimed. A name appeared on the black stone tablet. Moreover, a moment later, a large amount of military merits appeared. This fellow called Kun Yun had actually killed 3 million enemy soldiers and 200 enemy generals. How amazing! Is he going to enter the top 10? As expected of the top 10 scouts. All the scouts looked up at the name. The scout called Kun Yun puffed out his chest with a face full of pride. Good. Among the commanders, someone shouted loudly. Obviously, Kun Yun was a scout in his camp, and he was very proud of him. He laughed heartily and said, the reward is a dragon unicorn warhorse, 500 divine crystals, and the title of vice commander of the scouts. As soon as the announcement was made, Kun Yun could not help but be overjoyed. He had become a vice commander. The crowd congratulated him one by one. However, the falling flowers flowing water sword and the others shook their heads with arrogance. Kun Yun's military merits were less than theirs, but he was already so dazzling. What would happen when it was their turn? Humph, loser. D/Mo sneered directly. Buzz. Almost at the same time, the black stone tablet lit up again. Everyone's breathing quickened. Who was the ninth person? Tianda. A moment later, a name appeared on the stone tablet. The young man called Tianda was stunned. Then, his fighting spirit rose and he looked at all the scouts with contempt. Unsurprisingly, the crowd cheered. Next, the 8th, the 7th, and the 6th. Chapter 2200. Who was the King of Scouts? The Grand Commanders nodded in satisfaction. Of course, some were laughing proudly while others had gloomy expressions. Grand Commander Huang Qi was one of them. Next up should be the top 5. Someone said in a low voice, but it made the square even more silent. Countless people stared at falling flowers, flowing water, Wuxia, Chess Boy, D/Mo, and the rest. These people would definitely enter the top 5. The main thing was to see who would be ranked higher. Because if one's ranking was high, they would be the superior of the other party in the future. And with the arrogance of those geniuses from various worlds, none of them wanted to be ranked behind others and have to look at the other party's face. And this was indeed the case. Falling flowers, flowing water and sword were already looking at each other. Their eyes were filled with intense battle intent, hoping to eliminate each other. Buzz. At the same time, a name appeared on the stone monument. It was Chess Boy. 5th. The Chess Boy immediately felt extremely depressed. He was actually ranked 5th. This was too embarrassing. However, compared to his gloominess, the other scouts were all excited and congratulated Chess Boy. After all, to them, being able to enter the top 5 was something they could only look up to. Shut up, you bunch of trash. Facing the scouts' congratulations, the Chess Boy felt that it was extremely ironic and could not help but curse. Wherever his gaze passed, no one dared to laugh. They could only stand there in a daze. However, the Chess Boy still felt that his anger had not been vented. He swept his gaze over again and discovered that Lin Ling still had a calm expression on his face, completely ignoring his anger. This made him even more furious. You piece of trash who doesn't even have any military merits, get the hell away from me. The Chess Boy was in a bad mood, so he subconsciously cursed. Moreover, although he was ranked 5th, he was definitely better than Lin Ling. Even though Lin Ling had killed a commandery lord, the others had killed more enemies and might surpass Lin Ling in terms of military merit. Therefore, he thought that Lin Ling might not be able to enter the top 10. Otherwise, Lin Ling's name would have appeared on the military merit tablet earlier. Idiot. Lin Ling gave tit for tat. What did it have to do with the Chess Boy? You have guts. The Chess Boy muttered to himself. However, he did not dare to act rashly because many of the Grand Commanders were present. The 4th one has appeared. At this moment, the stone tablet flickered again. Countless people stared at the stone tablet, wanting to know who the next name was. Even the 10 great commanders were the same. Huang Qi, who was holding his teacup, was also staring. Brother Huang Qi, you don't have to look. Your camp has no share in this military merit. However, the old man patted him on the shoulder again. Huang Qi's face darkened and he could only continue drinking his tea. Wu Qingzi. At the same time, a name appeared. This person had killed the lord of a commandery and killed 10 million enemy soldiers. His military exploits were extremely dazzling. Dong dong dong. Even the military camps were beating their war drums, their glory shaking the heavens. All of the scouts sucked in a breath of cold air, their eyes filled with reverence. However, just like the Chess Boy, Wu Qingzi's expression was ugly. He was actually weaker than D/Mo and the rest. This was too embarrassing. The Grand Commander behind him also had a look of unwillingness on his face. On the contrary, his comrade next to him was laughing at his misfortune, which made him feel even more displeased. Grand Commander Huang Qi, drink your tea and stop staring at the military merit tablet. Perhaps the Grand Commander did not dare to be too arrogant because his military exploits were not as good as Di Baimo's. However, in front of Huang Qi, he could still be a little proud. Old Kong, don't be too proud. Huang Qi was instantly enraged. I'm sorry. I don't know how to speak. I forgot that your camp is at the bottom. Sorry. The Grand Commander smiled apologetically. However, although his words were apologetic, he looked extremely proud. Seeing this, Huang Qi tolerated it. If not for his good relationship with his old comrade, he would have beaten him up. Of course, the most important thing was that in the military camp, military exploits were what mattered. If one's military exploits were not as good as others, he could only swallow his pride. Subconsciously, he looked at the scouts in his camp and sighed. Finally, his gaze fell on Lin Ling. Previously, he had also seen the chess boy being proud in front of Lin Ling. At that moment, he felt a sense of sympathy for him. Lin Ling also saw Huang Qi's pitiful gaze. He shook his head and continued to watch calmly. This infuriated Huang Qi. He was much calmer than he was under such circumstances. Buzz! The stone tablet shone again, as if someone had written on it. At this moment, everyone held their breaths. Because there were only 2 people left. They were Falling Blossom, Flowing Water Sword and Di Baimo. Who was the first? Who was the Scout King? It must be me. Di Baimo said confidently. In fact, he was also very nervous. You have been fighting with me. Unfortunately, you have been defeated time and time again. This time, it will not be an accident. Falling Blossom, Flowing Water Sword pretended to be indifferent. However, in fact, he was more nervous than Di Baimo. Both of them stared at the stone tablet. The name on the stone tablet finally appeared. It was Di Baimo. The crowd was silent. After a moment, the war drums rose to the sky. The Scout King who ranked second appeared. Amazing! You actually killed the Lord of a Commandery, as well as 30 million enemy soldiers. You even killed 1,000 of the enemy's generals. We are all geniuses. Why is there such a big gap? No one was not envious because in the future, Di Baimo would be their boss. Good. Among the commanders, a burly man also shouted happily. Obviously, Di Baimo was from his camp. Although Di Baimo was not as good as Falling Blossom, Flowing Water Sword, at least he had surpassed all the commanders. My brethren, I'm going to drink your wine. He said. The commander said with a smile. The other commanders' faces turned ugly, especially Huang Qi. His face was darker than the bottom of his nest because he was the one who lost the most wine. The first should be Falling Blossom, Flowing Water Sword. After the war drum sounded, someone said. Di Baimo was ranked second, so the first was obvious. Among the 10 commanders, an old man stood up proudly. Although he knew that Falling Blossom, Flowing Water Sword would be the first, he was still very proud after seeing it with his own eyes. Yes, from now on, you will be the Scout Commander. The old man's majestic voice floated out, making Falling Blossom, Flowing Water Sword tremble. He quickly shouted, Yes, sir. Looking at his appearance, Di Baimo and the others gritted their teeth. They were extremely unwilling. Even the chess boy almost wanted to shout out that the military achievement tablet did not show his name. It was too early to confirm everything now. In the end, he held back. Because he also thought that Falling Blossom, Flowing Water Sword was the first. Sure enough, the military achievement tablet began to shine. A dazzling name appeared. It was Falling Blossom Flowing Water Sword. Dong dong dong. After the name appeared, the sound of the drums was even more shocking. Even the neighing of war horses in the distance made many people's blood boil. Because this was the glory of the Scout King. The moment he sensed the brilliance, Falling Blossom Flowing Water Sword also straightened his chest and looked around indifferently. Chapter 2201. The whole army was silent. Clap clap clap. Even the commanders and scouts were clapping. Lin Ling and the others were stunned. Lin Ling was surprised. Why wasn't his name on the military merit tablet? In fact, he didn't care about the ranking at all. He only needed to appear on the military merit tablet. But his name wasn't there. What happened? Could it be that Lin Ling didn't enter the military merit tablet? Lu Qingfeng was also very surprised. Impossible. Lin Ling should be in the top 10. Fairy Danxia also frowned. They were all puzzled. However, at that moment, the silent military achievement monument started glowing once again. Boom! This time, the whole army was in an uproar. Those who were clapping all stopped. Wasn't the top 10 military merit tablet finished? Why were there still names appearing? Even the 10 great commanders widened their eyes in shock. Only Commander Huang Qi was drinking tea and gloating, the military merit tablet is also stupid. It means that the military merit tablet is not accurate. Since no one in his camp entered the military merit tablet, he didn't have any glory. So he was gloating. Oh right, the previous scout tablet only gave out 9 people. Suddenly, someone recalled. Boom! The whole army was in an uproar again. Could it be that Falling Flowers Flowing Water Sword wasn't first, but second? I counted before. There were indeed 9 people. Someone said in horror. His words made the whole army burst into a sound like waves. In fact, they couldn't be blamed for being wrong, because in everyone's mind, Falling Flowers Flowing Water Sword and D by MO were either first or second, and after they appeared, the awarding of military merits must have ended, so they didn't carefully count how many people had appeared. At this moment, the other Grand Commanders seemed to have come to their senses. They were all in disbelief. Only Grand Commander Huang Qi was still gloating. At this moment, the most dazzling name appeared on the military merit tablet. The new Scout King was born. Lin Ling. When the 2 dazzling names appeared, the whole army was silent. Not many people knew of this name. Many people even thought that there was a mistake in the rankings. They looked around for that so-called Lin Ling. Huang Qi was the only one who stood there in a daze. He was drinking tea, but the teacup in his hand was crushed by his grip. The tea spilled all over his hand, but he didn't seem to notice. It was as if he had been struck dumb. Finally, he laughed foolishly. He even danced with joy. He had never imagined that someone from their camp would finally enter the military merit rankings. Moreover, it was the dazzling number 1. Lin Ling, he's from my camp. He roared, causing the hearts of all the Grand Commanders to tremble. It couldn't be, right? Huang Qi was so unlucky. Every year, he would only draw ordinary recruits. Did he hit the jackpot this year? Brother Huang, are you sure you're not mistaken? An old man said in disbelief. He was the boss of Blossoming Flowing Water Sword. Commander Huang Qi could be said to be elated. He patted the old man's shoulder. Brother, this Lin Ling is indeed from my camp. This year, our camp finally got number 1. Brother, don't sigh. Next year, we'll make a comeback. Of course, I'll definitely drink that wine. These comforting words undoubtedly caused the old man to blow his beard. Huang Qi's words seemed to be comforting, but no matter how you looked at it, he was proud. He is Lin Ling from my camp. Then, Commander Huang Qi suddenly pointed at Lin Ling. Countless eyes immediately looked at Lin Ling. Then, their faces changed greatly. It was actually him. Obviously, everyone knew Lin Ling, but they didn't expect Lin Ling to be number one. Blossoming Flowing Water Sword, D by Mo, and the others were all stunned. They naturally knew that Lin Ling had killed a commandery lord. But before, they thought that Lin Ling only had this military merit, so Lin Ling was surpassed by others. Who would have thought that Lin Ling didn't appear on the military merit list because he was the last to appear? He was number one. Furthermore, he was the king that stood above all of the scouts. The king of scouts. In the future, he will also be a scout commander? Tang Yue, Qi Tong, and the others were all muttering to themselves. They even rubbed their eyes, unable to believe what they were seeing. Impossible, although he killed a commandery lord, we also killed him. How can he be ranked above us? Blossoming Flowing Water Sword was surprised and immediately shouted angrily. He stared at Lin Ling. Tell me, why are you ranked above us? In fact, his question was also in the minds of many people. Even the senior commanders were looking at Huang Qi. They wanted to ask Huang Qi why his scout was ranked first. However, Huang Qi obviously didn't know the inside story. He could only look at Lin Ling. I don't know, maybe the military merit tablet is wrong. However, under countless gazes, Lin Ling shrugged. He still didn't care about being number one, as long as he was in the top 10. However, his indifference undoubtedly made Blossoming Flowing Water Sword and the others furious. Even Huang Qi smiled bitterly. That guy was number one, but he didn't care. This was really infuriating. However, at this time, Lin Ling's military merit finally appeared on the military merit tablet, and everyone was stunned. Lin Ling had killed 3,000 enemy soldiers and 1,200 generals. Amazing, we all underestimated him. With that, he's no weaker than any of the other scouts. Plus, he killed the Mirror King. No wonder he is number one. All the scouts sucked in a breath of cold air. They never thought that the stubborn guy would have such a terrifying military merit. This time, Blossoming Flowing Water Sword and the others were speechless. However, the military merit tablet wasn't over yet. After Mirror King, a new name shot out like a dazzling sun, making everyone unable to open their eyes. 8 Gates Bandit King. Boom! The whole army was in an uproar again. No way, 2 commanderies. God, this guy is abnormal. So the 8 Gates Bandit King was killed by him. This guy has created 2 miracles in a row. The astonishment of the crowd was like a tidal wave, wave after wave. Even the soldiers around the square forgot to beat the drums due to their astonishment. 2 commanderies. Huang Qi was dumbfounded. How could his scouts be so powerful? Blossoming Flowing Water Sword and the others were all gaping. At this moment, what could they say? Obviously, they couldn't say anything. It was as if they had been slapped in the face. They were speechless. Hearing the shocked voices of the whole army, Lin Ling was finally relieved. He was finally sure that he was in the top 10. Lin Ling, congratulations. Fairy Danxia and the others seemed to be happier than Lin Ling. They all said excitedly. Lin Ling spread his hands and said, in fact, I just wanted to be in the top 10. Who knew that I would become number one? If I had known, I wouldn't have killed the 2 commanderies. He killed the 2 commanderies for insurance. If he had known that he could enter the top 10 by killing one, he wouldn't have risked his life in the battle against Mirror King. Chapter 2202. Warmyong Vital Jade in hand. This guy only wanted to enter the top 10, so he killed 2 lords of commanderies. What if he wanted to be first? Was he going to kill all the lords of commanderies? As for falling flowers, flowing water, and the others, they were all furious. If it weren't for the presence of the Grand Commander, they would have killed Lin Ling. They risked their lives to be first, but in the end, they were ranked behind others. Lin Ling only wanted to enter the top 10, but he was above them. Was this guy deliberately trying to anger them? Then Dmo suddenly remembered that Lin Ling didn't care about his previous provocation. It turned out that it was true disdain. Just to enter the top 10, you killed 2 lords of commanderies? I'm speechless. Yes. Huang Qi naturally believed Lin Ling. If he remembered correctly, Lin Ling wanted to enter the top 10 because he wanted to save people. Good. 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 Lin Ling. You've broken the record for this mission and created a miracle for the Martial Gods Battalion. The Martial Gods Battalion has appointed you as the commander of the Scouts and even the King of Scouts. You'll be rewarded with 1,000 divine crystals, and you'll be able to walk freely within the Martial Gods Battalion. Huang Qi said seriously. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hearing this, Lin Ling was delighted. In fact, he had the white flag, so he didn't care about the title of Scout Commander. Because he was the Grand Commander, he could summon all the Scout Commanders. Therefore, he cared about that one request. And that request was the warm young vital jade. Under the sounds of congratulations, the award ceremony finally came to an end. Huang Qi was clearly incomparably happy. His laughter soared into the sky as he left with Lin Ling. Of course, before he left, he did not forget to say, "My old comrades, you must remember that feast. Sigh, don't frown. You were just unlucky this year. Next year, you can start all over again." After saying this, he couldn't help but laugh loudly. Good, good. As for the other Grand Commanders, they were disgusted as if they had eaten flies. Huang Qi, this fellow, was in high spirits right now. Looking at Lin Ling's back, many of the scouts' eyes were filled with worship. Only falling flowers, flowing water, and the others had ugly expressions. They were so angry that their bodies were trembling. In the Battle of the Mirror Monarch, Lin Ling had stolen their military merits. Lin Ling had once again seized their glory. Especially falling flowers, flowing water sword. Not only was he angry, but he was also embarrassed. This was because he had previously thought that he was the king of scouts. Who would have thought that he was only the second? It doesn't matter to me. Anyway, the first place is not among us. That's good. That guy killed 2 lords of the commandery. I'm convinced. The chess boy and the others suddenly laughed. Anyway, their ranking was not high, so when they saw that the falling flowers, flowing water sword and Dmo were not first, they naturally gloated. Humph. Even though he's the king of scouts, he's merely the commander of scouts. His status is the same as ours. Let's see how formidable he is during the battle of the divine rankings. Dmo snorted coldly and strode away. That guy is really pissed. Unfortunately, his words made the chess boy and the others laugh sarcastically. As for the falling flowers, flowing water sword, he looked deeply into the distance. He was also looking forward to the battle of the divine rankings. He wanted to wash away his previous humiliation. Of course, the chess boy and the others also narrowed their eyes. They also had the same idea. On the other side, Lin Ling followed Commander Huang Qi forward. Then Commander Huang Qi left. When he returned, he had a fist-sized square fire jade in his hand. This jade looked like a ball of fire. Take it. Even our commander is jealous of this treasure. Huang Qi handed the fire jade to Lin Ling with a smile. This was the warm young vital jade. Lin Ling was overjoyed and hurriedly took it. Then, he realized that the fire jade was warm to the touch. It wasn't hot at all. Instead, it felt warm. Try not to let others see this treasure. Otherwise, it will cause trouble. Huang Qi exhorted and looked at Lin Ling with a smile. The more he looked at him, the happier he was. Until now, he was still immersed in that moment of exhilaration. He had been recruiting soldiers for many years, and this was the first time he had surpassed his old comrade. Lin Ling, thank you. Back then, you said that relying on yourself is better than relying on others. Today, I believe that sentence. You deserve the title of Scout Commander and Scout King. Huang Qi said again. It's all thanks to you, sir. Lin Ling bowed and said. He was wondering if he should announce the Bai Ling flag. He remembered that the powerful old man had said that the Bai Ling flag represented the commander and could summon all the commanders. However, after thinking about it, Lin Ling did not intend to announce it for the time being. He did not want to surprise Commander Huang Qi again. Moreover, it was useless to say it now. By the way, you have obtained a lot of divine crystals. Use them to cultivate. They can increase your cultivation and also be used to convert boundary essence. However, converting boundary essence will be much more difficult. Huang Qi explained. Lin Ling was looking forward to it. Back in his world, the ancient era's powerhouses had fought over divine crystals until their heads bled. The divine crystals were mostly used to increase one's cultivation. As for converting boundary essence, the divine crystals were not very effective. After all, boundary essence needed to be comprehended. Now that you are a commander, you can go to many places in the martial god barracks. However, it's better to increase your strength. Thank you, sir. I know that no matter where, strength is everything. Lin Ling nodded. Men, bring Commander Lin Ling to his residence. Huang Qi shouted. Immediately, a soldier walked over. After saluting Lin Ling and Huang Qi, the soldier led Lin Ling forward. Not long after, a camp appeared. This was Lin Ling's residence. Commander. There were many soldiers in the camp. At this moment, they looked at Lin Ling and greeted him. These soldiers were all scouts. However, they were not this year's scouts. No need to be so polite. Lin Ling smiled and said. He did not stop and entered the barracks. I heard that this sir is this year's king of scouts. He looks so young. Indeed, young people have great potential. Of course, I heard that this lord has killed 2 lords of the commandery. However, he seems to be very amiable. We will be lucky to follow him in the future. The scouts smiled and said. Not long after, a large number of scouts arrived. They were this year's scouts. A few of them were Lu Qingfeng and the others. Huang Qi knew that Lu Qingfeng and the others knew Lin Ling, so they were assigned to the same barracks. We will continue to follow boss. After Lu Qingfeng entered the camp, he could not help but laugh. Following Lin Ling was undoubtedly better than following other scout commanders. As for Pan Luyun and Huang Qi, they heaved a sigh of relief. With boss as their backer, they would not be bullied. After all, they knew that new recruits were not treated well in the martial god barracks. Do you know the new commander? As expected, the faces of the veterans changed and they immediately began to curry favor with them. Lin Ling naturally did not know what was happening outside the barracks. The fire jade appeared in his hand and he smiled faintly at this moment. His mission for this trip had finally been completed. Moreover, he could go back now. Chapter 2203. All-around improvement. Lin Ling had also gained a lot from this trip to the martial god barracks. In total, he had more than 2,000 deity crystals. No one would complain about having too many deity crystals. Next, Lin Ling was hesitating whether to increase his cultivation level or to comprehend the boundary essence. According to Commander Huang Qi, comprehending the boundary essence would be more difficult. Moreover, if the martial emperor realm could not convert all the boundary essence, then he would never be able to break through to the martial emperor realm. Boundary essence, extract the power of a world. Lin Ling thought of the general of the martial god barracks who could cut a world with a single slash and his blood boiled. Let's see what happens. In the end, Lin Ling did not plan to strengthen that aspect. Instead, he chose to improve all aspects. Physical body, cultivation, boundary essence, soul power. Deity crystals had such benefits because they did not come from any world but the boundary essence of the universe. Then, Lin Ling began to refine the deity crystals. Immediately, he felt as if he had come to the universe and could see thousands of worlds. Those worlds were like mirror worlds. Each world was a world. If he could control a world, he would be a world king. In fact, Lin Ling could even see his own world. A world in a flower, a Bodhi in a leaf. Suddenly, an ancient voice appeared in Lin Ling's mind. It allowed him to see that a grain of sand was actually a world. His left eye emitted a mysterious light. In his pupil, those Tao talismans were swimming. 10,000 elephant demon eyes, one of the universal god eyes. It had no offensive power and only auxiliary power. This was a cultivation cheat. Boom! Lin Ling soon sensed that his godly devil body had improved and there were godly devils roaring behind him. His soul power had also increased, reaching level 550. Most importantly, his cultivation level had also improved. He had entered the 6th stage of the martial emperor realm and his laws had increased by 5 million. Moreover, his boundary essence had finally been converted to 20%. This shocking achievement caused huge waves to surge in Lin Ling's heart. The results of this cultivation were too great. When Lin Ling opened his eyes, a beam of green light shot out from his left eye. It was evil and bewitching, but it quickly returned to normal. When Lin Ling sensed the changes in his body, his jaw dropped. This was an all-round improvement. Could it be that with deity crystals, one's cultivation speed would be so fast? However, he noticed that all the divine crystals had been completely exhausted. The God-Devil body has actually reached the 8th grade of the divine rank immortal body, and the strength of the entire body has reached 1000 U. Lin Ling was shocked again. The Fiend God body came from the Fiend God Overlord body of the Star-Picking Nation. It was something that he had been cultivating for a long time. He did not expect that he would go further and further on the path of cultivating his physical body. Now, it had reached a level that was beyond his imagination. After all, after the immortal body was the Xian body. Could it be that the Fiend God physique had reached the Xian physique? Lin Ling involuntarily shook his head. In this aspect of cultivation, nobody could guide him. He could only rely on himself to fumble about. As for soul force, that was Lin Ling's forte, and it had been slowly increasing. Most importantly, his realm essence had been converted to 20%. In the end, Lin Ling shook his head. Perhaps after obtaining the divine crystal, other people's cultivation speed would also be like this. He could only comfort himself in this way. After leaving the barracks, the sun shone brightly outside. Many experts were cultivating, and their realm essence constantly filled the air. The experts of the martial god realm were indeed powerful. Those people were probably existences that could not be underestimated in any realm. Lord Commander. When they saw Lin Ling, everyone stood up and saluted. Among them, Lu Qingfeng and the others were also present. Lin Ling smiled and nodded. He knew that these scouts would listen to his orders in the future. You all continue to cultivate. If the Martial God Battalion has a mission, I will inform you all. After saying his goodbyes, Lin Ling left. In these 3 months, the Lord Commander has been cultivating diligently. As expected of this year's Scout King. Lord Commander. Although the Lord Commander is a newcomer, I don't know why I feel pressured when I see him. Could it be because of his position? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Maybe it's his strength that gives you a sense of oppression. Yes. After Lin Ling left, the scouts said one after another. Lu Qingfeng and the others smiled proudly. It seemed that the process of Lin Ling taking charge of this battalion of scouts was very smooth. Lin Ling walked along the martial god battalion and found that it was very big. There were many barracks, and each barracks was under the control of a commander. The Grand Commander's position was even higher, and he was in charge of all the other commanders. Greetings, Lord. Along the way, many soldiers saluted Lin Ling. After all, in the barracks, the most important thing was one's status. Lin Ling smiled and nodded. At the same time, he found that there were many female soldiers in the Martial God Battalion. It seemed that the Martial God Battalion did not discriminate between men and women. Is that the Scout King from 3 months ago? It seems that his realm is not high. It doesn't matter if his realm is high or not. At least he created a miracle and killed 2 lords of commanderies. I really envy him. After Lin Ling left, the soldiers discussed animatedly. Of course, it was no wonder that they were surprised. After all, there were many veterans here who had been cultivating for many years. However, Lin Ling was a newcomer who had just arrived and was already above them. They had no choice but to respect him. On the other hand, Lin Ling went to find Grand Commander Huang Qi. He wanted to bid farewell and prepare to return to his own world. Grand Commander Huang Qi's barracks were even bigger. There were soldiers cultivating all around. Moreover, these soldiers were not weak. Many of them were even stronger than Lin Ling. However, when they saw Lin Ling, they saluted respectfully. This was because the Martial God Battalion also valued potential. In the future, Lin Ling might not be weaker than them. Lord. After entering the barracks, Lin Ling immediately saluted. Grand Commander Huang Qi was holding a jug of wine and looking at the sand table. Oh, Lin Ling is here. After a while, Grand Commander Huang Qi said with a smile. However, he was still looking at the sand table. Lin Ling could see that Grand Commander Huang Qi was preparing for a mission. However, as he was not familiar with the martial god realm, Lin Ling did not ask. Lord, I would like to leave the martial god battalion and go home. I hope you can approve. Lin Ling said. You have just become the scout commander. There must be many people who are dissatisfied with you behind your back. You should focus on improving your strength first. Let's talk about going home later. You have to at least reach the LV6 Martial Emperor realm to convince the others. Huang Qi frowned. He stopped working and looked at Lin Ling. However, in the next moment, he spat out a mouthful of wine. You have reached the rank 6 Martial Emperor realm? A surprised voice came from the barracks. The soldiers outside were dumbfounded. They had not heard Huang Qi's strange voice for a long time. Did something terrifying happen? In fact, Huang Qi was terrified. If he remembered correctly, when he first met Lin Ling was a rank 4 Martial Emperor. Then, during the bandit suppression mission, Lin Ling was a rank 5 Martial Emperor realm. Now, in just 3 months, this guy had reached the rank 6 Martial Emperor realm. This cultivation speed was too fast. If Lin Ling was not in front of him, he would have slapped himself to see if he had seen a ghost. What about your boundary essence? Huang Qi asked in a trembling voice. Chapter 2204. Making Things Difficult. Bang. The wine jug in Huang Qi's hand exploded. Not only did his cultivation level increase, he even changed his boundary essence. This guy was really a freak. For many people, boundary essence could be improved more than one's cultivation level. Even if they succeeded, it would take decades or even thousands of years. You can go home now. Huang Qi said speechlessly. Lin Ling's strength had met his requirements. Lin Ling also noticed that not everyone improved as fast as him. It seemed like he had been overthinking things. However, before you go back, you'd better go to the Martial God Lake and find a suitable martial art for yourself. After all, the Martial God Barracks Divine List battle will begin when you return. The Divine List battle is also a battle between soldiers and commanders. If you lose, you might be trampled on by others. Huang Qi said. The barracks spoke based on strength. As a commander, it would be embarrassing if he was defeated by a soldier. Moreover, the Falling Flowers Flowing Water Sword and the others would definitely want to trample on Lin Ling. Thank you for the reminder, sir. Lin Ling nodded. He was not a newbie and naturally knew that the competition in the barracks was even more intense. Go, Lin Ling. I have high hopes for you. Moreover, you can lead the troops to battle this time. Huang Qi wrote a military order and handed it to Lin Ling. It allowed Lin Ling to lead the troops to battle. However, Lin Ling had the white flag and could actually command all the scouts in the barracks. Even so, he still accepted it with a smile. In this way, Lin Ling could lead his men and leave the Martial God Barracks. Martial God Lake? After leaving the barracks, Lin Ling headed toward the Martial God Lake. Other than the commanders, no one else could get close to that place unless they had outstanding military achievements. Martial arts from all over the world were collected there. It was a place that every new commander had to go. You are Commander Lin Ling? At this moment, several figures suddenly blocked Lin Ling's path and smiled faintly. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. He did not know these people. Yes. However, Lin Ling still smiled. I've heard that you're the king of scouts. Oh, you're young, but you've made outstanding military exploits. Tell me, did you do something to become a scout? I've heard that there are no outstanding figures in Commander Huang Qi's camp. Could it be that Commander Huang Qi is secretly helping you? Hehe, it seems possible. Otherwise, how could he have killed the two lords of the commandery? The men in armor suddenly laughed, and their laughter was not soft. Immediately, many people started to gather around them. It was human nature to watch a show. Those are Commander Su Tian's men, they are all veterans. Is this the spark between a veteran and a new recruit? That must be the Scout King, Lin Ling. He looks even younger than I imagined. According to the rules of the army, no matter how dazzling the new recruits are, they still have to salute the veterans respectfully. Many voices rang out quietly. There were even many commanders watching from afar. They were the chess boy and the others. Naturally, they were here to watch a good show. Lin Ling frowned. He guessed that these people were here to make things difficult for him. However, he was puzzled. He did not provoke these people, so why were they making things difficult for him? If you have something to say, just say it. What kind of man are you to beat around the bush? Lin Ling did not hold back anymore. As soon as he finished speaking, the faces of the men in armor turned ugly. Lin Ling was too arrogant. As a new recruit, shouldn't you have some awareness? One of the men said coldly. Awareness my ass. Lin Ling retorted. He was too lazy to talk nonsense. His big hand reached out to grab them. How dare you? The men did not expect Lin Ling to make a move. He was too arrogant. No matter what, they had been in the Martial God Barracks for 100 years. They were real veterans. However, Lin Ling did not use any law or realm essence. This made them laugh mockingly. It turned out that this guy was just putting on an act. At the same time, the man who had spoken at the beginning threw out a punch. He thought that Lin Ling, a new recruit, was only a so-so. That is Vice Commander Chun Chun from the Flame War world. He is a rank 7 martial emperor. He is not weak. The onlookers did not expect that the two sides would suddenly clash. Crack. However, in front of everyone's eyes, Lin Ling's palm, which seemed weak, blasted Vice Commander Chun Chun's fist away. Moreover, the palm landed on Vice Commander Chun Chun's chest, causing cracks to immediately appear on his armor. Puff! Then, a mouthful of blood, which was like a beautiful firework, scattered in the air. Next, the Vice Commander fell to the ground. As a soldier, you should be straightforward. What kind of hero are you to beat around the bush? After Lin Ling sent the Vice Commander flying, he took a big step forward and chased after him. You are rebelling. The Vice Commander was still shocked by Lin Ling's strength. This was because Lin Ling's palm did not have any law or realm essence. Why was it so strong? How could he know that Lin Ling's physical strength had greatly increased? With 1,000 universe force, he was comparable to a large number of law force attacks. You talk too much nonsense. Lin Ling arrived in front of the Vice Commander and stomped on him, shattering all of his armor with a single stomp. The entire process was overbearing and imposing. The crowd was silent. Only now did they realize that Lin Ling was more like an iron blood warrior. If there was a disagreement, he would directly use his strength. This thunderous method was shocking. You are courting death. When the rest of the people came to their senses, they all rushed towards Lin Ling. How dare you, as soldiers, not only did you not bow when you saw me, a commander, but you actually dared to offend your superior. Lin Ling stared at them and shouted angrily. Dang dang dang. Hearing this, the soldiers all stopped in their tracks and did not dare to move again. Although Lin Ling was a recruit, it was undeniable that Lin Ling was also a commander. All of you kneel down and slap yourselves 3 times. Lin Ling shouted again. Bullshit, we are Commander Su Tian's men. We are not under your control. The Vice Commander's pupils constricted and he anxiously shouted. Unfortunately, Lin Ling sneered, then are you going to kneel or not? If I remember correctly, in the martial god camp, if you offend your superior and refuse to repent, you will be beheaded and placed outside the martial god camp. So, those who do not obey, kill. When the word kill fell, everyone's hearts jumped. Lin Ling was ruthless enough. Kneel, quickly kneel. The Vice Commander finally knew that although Lin Ling was a recruit, he was also someone who had seen the wind and waves. Moreover, he was a ruthless character. Lin Ling lifted the Vice Commander up with one hand and said with a smile, "Can you tell me now?" "Commander, in fact, we are just small soldiers. We were entrusted by someone. Please don't take it to heart." The Vice Commander's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he spoke. Try spouting nonsense again. Lin Ling's smile became even more brilliant, but it was filled with a chill. I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. The Vice Commander hurriedly said, "It was Commander Su Tian who asked me to find you. He is inviting you over." The main character had finally appeared. Chapter 2205. Commander Su Tian. Commander Su Tian is Lord Su's brother. However, the deputy commander's next sentence finally made Lin Ling understand the other party's intentions. Lord Su had been killed by Lin Ling, so Commander Su Tian would definitely not let him off. Lead the way. Lin Ling threw the deputy commander aside and kicked the kneeling soldiers at the same time. Those people did not dare to say anything and quickly led the way. The onlookers also followed, looking forward to the clash between the new commander and the old commander. This guy seems low-key, but he's not someone to be trifled with. The chess boy and the others' faces changed drastically. All along, Lin Ling gave them the impression that he was a man of few words, as if he was a youth who had never left the house. But now, they felt that they were wrong. That guy's viciousness was obviously accumulated through many trials and tribulations. Not long after, Lin Ling came to a barracks, and there were even more soldiers here. Obviously, the commander called Su Tian had a deeper foundation than Lin Ling, and he had more soldiers under him. From afar, Lin Ling saw a man with long hair and red armor sitting there. There was a red sword beside him, and the red sword was like a giant ruler, majestic and awe-inspiring. You must be Commander Su Tian. If you want to make things difficult for me, please send someone stronger. Don't embarrass yourself with trash like this. After Lin Ling arrived, he immediately shouted coldly and kicked the deputy commander and the others. Seeing that, the entire barracks fell silent. All of the soldiers were enraged, and they all grabbed their weapons. Too arrogant, he dared to be so arrogant in their barracks? Even the man in red armor was shocked. Without a doubt, he was completely enraged. He had specially sent someone to invite Lin Ling here. Who knew that Lin Ling would actually come, but he also gave him a show of strength. Most importantly, there were many people in the barracks watching, and there were also many commanders. If news of this spread, these people would definitely laugh at him. Because, if he could not even deal with a recruit, he, Su Tian, would lose face. How dare you, you know who I am. Su Tian kicked the giant sword at his feet and shouted coldly after holding it. Stop pretending in front of me. You are a commander, and I am also a commander. What are you pretending for? Lin Ling was not afraid at all. For trouble that came to his door, he would use his strength to fight. Over the years, he had long been used to this kind of challenge. You want to avenge your brother, right? Sure, why don't we have a battle? Victory or defeat will be decided in 10 moves. Lin Ling spoke again. This was turning the tables. Hearing this, Su Tian was stunned. Shouldn't he be the one to say those words? Who was the master? The crowd was also dumbfounded. They did not expect Lin Ling to be so powerful. Do you dare or not? Lin Ling asked calmly. Audacious. What qualifications do you have to speak in front of Commander Su Tian? You're just a new recruit. From their point of view, this Scout King was simply courting death. Do you dare or not? Lin Ling did not look at the soldiers and said calmly. Su Tian stared at Lin Ling and could not help but laugh. Although Lin Ling was this year's King of Scouts, he had been training in the martial god barracks for 100 years. Lin Ling was just a recruit to him. Whether it was prestige or strength, he was much better than Lin Ling. Commander Lin Ling, it's best if you don't act recklessly. An old commander looked at Lin Ling and advised him. He felt that Lin Ling was too impulsive. This was because they knew that Commander Su Tian was a rank 8 martial emperor. Moreover, he had converted 20% of his realm origin and cultivated the realm origin martial arts. He could explode 30% of his realm origin. No matter how outstanding Lin Ling was, he was no match for Commander Su Tian. Shut up, this is between me and him. It has nothing to do with you. However, Lin Ling did not give the commanders any face at all. It has nothing to do with us. We tried to persuade him with good intentions, but this guy did not know how to appreciate it. He will suffer. Arrogant people will kick an iron plate sooner or later. The commanders were stunned for a moment before they reprimanded Lin Ling one after another. As for the chess boy and the others, they sneered. Even they did not dare to provoke the old commanders. Lin Ling, this recruit, was really brave. The upcoming show would definitely be exciting. Do you really want to fight with me? Su Tian narrowed his eyes and stared at Lin Ling. Some grudges, even if not settled now, will have to be settled in the future. Since that is the case, why not settle it directly? Lin Ling smiled and said, however, you're wasting my time as well. So, if we really want to fight, why don't we make a bet with 1,000 divine crystals? If I haven't lost after 10 moves, then you win, and vice versa. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire barracks fell silent. 1,000 divine crystals was a huge sum of money. After all, the martial god barracks had only rewarded Lin Ling with 1,000 divine crystals when he became the Scout King. This clearly showed how precious divine crystals were. Su Tian also sucked in a breath of cold air. The stakes were huge. He frowned and said, why should I bet? Actually, his entire wealth was only 1,000 divine crystals. Moreover, he had accumulated them for many years. So, it would definitely hurt his heart to bet with it. Didn't you understand what I said? Because you are wasting my time. So, do you think I will fight you without 1,000 divine crystals? However, you probably don't dare to fight me. Lin Ling shook his head and spoke with a tone filled with disdain. These words carried an element of provocation. As a commander, Su Tian was naturally experienced. How could he not understand the meaning behind those words? Unfortunately, so what if he understood it? Because if he did not gamble, it meant that he did not dare. An old commander being afraid of a new commander, if word got out, he would not be able to put down his face. Bet with him. We will also raise the stakes. At this moment, the old commanders on the side said coldly as they looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling shrugged and said, sure, I will take as many divine crystals as you have. I was waiting for you to say that. The commanders laughed excitedly and took out their divine crystals in preparation for the next bet. At this moment, Su Tian clearly had no choice but to accept the challenge. He could only take out 1,000 divine crystals with heartache. Commander Su, you don't have to be afraid of him. He is only a rank 6 martial emperor. No matter how powerful he is, he can only convert 10% of his divine crystals. You have already converted 20% of your divine crystals. Moreover, your Red River sword is not weak. It can erupt with 30% of your divine crystals. That's right, you will definitely win. I will bet 100 divine crystals on you. The old commanders seemed to be targeting Lin Ling, but in reality, they also wanted to win money. When the surrounding people heard the analysis, they were all moved. This was a chance for them to get some change. We will also bet 10 divine crystals. 50 divine crystals. The camp suddenly became lively. Even Su Tian was stunned. However, he laughed heartily and said, everyone, place your bets. This is a sure win. As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd became even more excited. Everyone bet that Lin Ling would lose. Even the chess boy and the others did so. Although the bets were small, they added up to 3,000 divine crystals. This made Lin Ling chuckle to himself. I will bet 1 divine crystal on you winning. Chapter 2206. Unable to draw his sword, this beautiful girl was the little princess of Square Commandery, Tang Yue. Lin Ling was somewhat stunned as he said, you trust me so much? That's not the case. I can't wait for you to lose because you snatched my military merits. However, I bet on you to win because I'm rewarding you with a divine crystal so that a slave like you won't have to run around naked after losing. Tang Yue said proudly. It was actually because she pitied Lin Ling that she bet on Lin Ling to win. Lin Ling shook his head helplessly. However, there was a great deal of laughter in the camp. Moreover, everyone was rubbing their hands as if they had already reaped a great harvest. Wait a moment. If I win, will you be able to give me that many divine crystals? You should know that we have 3,000 deity crystals now. That's a huge sum, said Su Tian indifferently. The crowd's eyes lit up. Su Tian was indeed an officer, he was very meticulous. Lin Ling looked at him with disdain. With a wave of his right hand, a piece of fire jade appeared in his hand. If you're poor, then forget it. Don't treat me like you are. It's warm yang elemental jade. Looking at the fiery red jade, the old commanders narrowed their eyes. That treasure was extremely precious. On the other hand, Su Tian's face was a little ugly. He never thought that Lin Ling would be so rich and overbearing, directly giving him a ruthless slap. It was as if he was really down and out. Is that enough? Do you want to see if it's genuine? Lin Ling narrowed his eyes. Enough, enough. Those old commanders all said shamelessly, as if they were slaves. All right, let's begin. Lin Ling didn't want to talk too much nonsense and said directly. Everyone made way for them as they stared nervously at Lin Ling and Su Tian. They did not know which of the two commanders was more powerful. Of course, they continuously analyzed, but they all believed that Commander Su Tian would definitely win. At the same time, Su Tian's long hair fluttered as he raised the red sword in his hand. The sword scabbard was a fiery red color and was filled with a domineering aura. Before he even drew his sword, the entire camp was shaken. It was as if a world was pressing down from the sky. Lin Ling stared at Commander Su Tian, and realized that the other party's aura, realm, and boundary essence were all not weak. His left eye quietly appeared and analyzed in secret. Su Tian's realm was higher than his, but Lin Ling was a triple cultivator of essence, qi, and spirit. Every major domain was extremely heaven-defying, and in terms of boundary essence, both of them had converted 20%, but Su Tian's sword was somewhat extraordinary, it seemed to be able to increase the power of boundary essence by 10%. Therefore, if Lin Ling lost, it would be because of that sword. Lin Ling was amazed as he analyzed. His left eye's analytical ability was too strong. In other words, as long as he could seal that sword, Lin Ling would win. You're the king of scouts, so you shouldn't be weak. However, compared to me, you're still far behind. At this moment, Su Tian said indifferently. Not bad. Lin Ling directly admitted. These words surprised Su Tian, because Lin Ling admitted defeat so quickly. However, don't think that I will underestimate you just because you admit defeat. I, Su Tian, have fought with the martial god camp and have never underestimated my opponent. Therefore, I will use my full strength. Su Tian said again. As expected of Commander Su Tian, defeat him. Use the Red River sword. With one sword, the Red River will appear. Hearing Su Tian's words, a large number of cheers came from the camp. I also hope that you will use your full strength. Lin Ling slowly pulled out his sword, causing many people's eyes to light up. Because, Lin Ling was also using a large sword. This was a large sword against a large sword. Even Su Tian's eyes flashed. This was an ingenious confrontation. In the martial god camp, only I, Su Tian, use an ancient sword as a weapon, and you are the second. However, in the martial god camp, only one person can use an ancient sword. Your sword, break for me. Su Tian's aura became more and more ferocious. Unparalleled boundary essence also erupted. This was 20% of boundary essence. Seeing this, the chess boy and the others immediately shook their heads. Lin Ling, how could they fight? As for the old commanders, they had cold smiles on their faces. 20% of boundary essence was just the beginning. The moment Su Tian drew his sword, it was 30% of boundary essence. Boom! Almost as soon as this thought appeared in their minds, the Red River sword began to tremble. The Red River realm's realm origin energy swept out in a mighty manner. Plop! Before the sword was drawn, the weak soldiers were directly shocked to the point of sitting on the ground. However, at this moment, Lin Ling moved. The 9 steps of Celestial and Demon appeared. His sword was also drawn. Of course, compared to the Red River sword, his tyrannical Song sword was clearly much dimmer. However, just as Su Tian was about to draw his sword, a sword stabbed towards him. Weak strength, weak sword, I don't know how you became a commander. Su Tian smiled disdainfully. With a glance, he could tell that the sword was very ordinary. Then, he wanted to break Lin Ling's sword and even cut off Lin Ling's head. However, at this moment, a sword light flashed over. It was not piercing towards him, but towards his Red River sword. At this moment, Su Tian's expression changed drastically. Lin Ling was not aiming to defeat him, but to pierce his Red River sword? What a joke! His Red River sword was a 6-star immortal weapon. How could Lin Ling's broken sword pose a threat to his Red River sword? However, although that sword did not pose a threat, it was obvious that Su Tian could not draw his sword. If he wanted to draw his sword, then his right arm would be pierced by Lin Ling's sword. At the critical moment, he took a step back and his right hand reached for the Red River sword again. However, Lin Ling followed him like a shadow and stabbed his sword again. His goal was still his Red River sword. Bastard! Su Tian finally let out a roar. Lin Ling's attack was very fierce. He gave up on drawing his sword, and his right hand slapped out fiercely. 20% of his realm essence roared, and that power caused the entire camp to be swept away by a strong wind. In fact, the barracks were rolling in the sky like straw. However, Lin Ling still stabbed his sword. Rumble. The sword and palm collided, and the realm essence erupted, causing many people to be unable to open their eyes. Moreover, they frantically retreated. That power was too terrifying. 20% of realm essence. The first collision caused Su Tian's expression to change drastically. He never expected that Lin Ling also had 20% of realm essence. Moreover, Lin Ling's sword looked ordinary, but it was extremely powerful, as if it had the power of 1,000 caddies. This guy's physical strength is very terrifying. It makes up for the gap between his realm and mine. It seems that I have to use my sword to kill him. Su Tian's attack failed, and the coldness in his heart became stronger. No wonder Lin Ling dared to fight. It turned out that he had converted 20% of his realm essence. However, he had 30% of his realm essence. Lin Ling couldn't cause any waves in front of him. Go to hell, Red River Realm's song. His right hand quickly drew his sword, but he was fast, but Lin Ling was faster. Before he even drew his sword, Lin Ling had already stabbed his sword towards his Red River sword. As a result, Su Tian failed again. He frantically retreated, and his expression became more and more unsightly. Suddenly, his pupils trembled fiercely. He suddenly understood Lin Ling's intention. Because, Lin Ling didn't let him use his sword. Yes, his sword was indeed more powerful, but if he couldn't use his sword, then what was the use? You! Su Tian couldn't help but shout angrily. He never expected that Lin Ling actually knew his weakness. Commander Su Tian, you don't have many moves left. Chapter 2207. Going back on his words. You're despicable. Su Tian was infuriated. The crowd watched the battle between the two with their mouths wide open. Lin Ling hadn't been defeated yet? What was going on? Heavens, he broke Su Tian's Red River sword. Not allowing Commander Su Tian to use his sword is equivalent to crippling one of Su Tian's arms. Those old commanders were indeed powerful. They gradually saw through Lin Ling's intentions. As soon as they finished speaking, the entire camp exploded. Especially the chess boy and the others. Every one of them had their mouths wide open. They never expected that Lin Ling would have such a move to defeat the enemy. Indeed, they knew that Su Tian had 30% of his realm essence and only needed one sword to defeat Lin Ling. However, they missed the point. If the sword couldn't be used, then what was the use of a sharp sword? Of course, it was easy to say. In fact, if it was any one of them, they couldn't do it. Moreover, Lin Ling seemed relaxed, but in fact, it was extremely dangerous. Because as long as Su Tian used his sword, Lin Ling would die. One thought to hell, one thought to heaven. Lin Ling was dancing between heaven and hell. This guy is crazy enough. None of the onlookers didn't admire him. The eighth move. At the same time, Lin Ling's voice drifted out. Su Tian's forehead was covered in cold sweat and his teeth were chattering. Obviously, he was furious. He could have won, but he just couldn't draw his sword. Every time he wanted to draw his sword, Lin Ling's sword would be one step faster than his. Unless he didn't want his right arm anymore and risked having it cut off by Lin Ling, he would continue to draw his sword. But he couldn't use his sword. This depressed feeling almost made him vomit blood. As a commander, you should know yourself and know your enemy. You can't sweep away your enemy just because you have a powerful method. Sometimes, an insignificant soldier can decide the outcome of the battle. Commander Su Tian, you have lost. 10th move. At this moment, an ear-piercing and low voice drifted out. Rumble. In the next moment, the two palms collided in the camp. Terrifying gales swept out, as if two worlds were colliding. Plop. A large number of people fell to the ground from the powerful impact, but they couldn't care less about the pain in their buttocks. Their eyes were fixed in front of them. Amidst the sharp wind, two figures stood there calmly. One of them slowly sheathed his sword, while the other finally drew his sword. The person who had sheathed the sword was Lin Ling. The person who pulled out the sword was Su Tian. He finally pulled out his sword, but 10 moves had already passed. He won. Lin Ling actually won. After a moment of silence, a horrified voice finally drifted out. However, it exploded and silenced the entire camp. Yes, Lin Ling won. Moreover, he had defeated the strong as the weak and won beautifully. The faces of the commanders and soldiers paled. They had lost a battle that they were sure to win. Their divine crystals had all been stolen by Lin Ling. They instinctively looked towards Commander Su Tian, and they noticed that the latter was holding his sword and gritting his teeth as he stood there. You finally drew your sword. Lin Ling spoke indifferently. This sentence was extremely sarcastic, and it made Commander Su Tian seem like a clown. He'd risked his life to draw his sword, and he'd only succeeded when he lost. This scene was like a play. Lin Ling shook his head and walked towards the other side. I'll say the same thing again. As a commander, you shouldn't underestimate any soldier on the battlefield. This time, it's just a spar. If a real battle arrives, then your carelessness will cause all your soldiers to die. As soon as he finished speaking, he arrived before the soldier who was in charge of guarding the divine crystals and stretched out his hand. The soldier had a reverent expression as he handed over all the divine crystals with both hands. Thank you. Lin Ling received it with a smile. He fished out 2 divine crystals and tossed them to Tang Yue. This is your reward. It's a pity that you bet too little on me. Otherwise, you could have made a huge profit. Tang Yue was stunned when she heard this. She'd only bet on Lin Ling because she pitied Lin Ling. Who knew that she'd become the only winner? She didn't want Lin Ling to win at all. As for the others, they all had bitter expressions and their bodies were trembling. Especially Commander Su Tian, he lost so much that he went bankrupt. Wait. As he watched Lin Ling leave in a carefree manner, Su Tian finally roared, "Those divine crystals are the blood and sweat of all our commanders. You can't take them away." That's right, let's drop this matter. Leave the divine crystals behind. Otherwise, you won't be able to walk out of the camp. Guards! The other old commanders all shouted angrily and waved their hands. Clap, clap, clap. A large number of footsteps were heard and the entire camp was surrounded. One had to know that each commander was in charge of a barrack. There were more than 10 of them here, so naturally, there would be a lot of soldiers. Those commanders didn't want Lin Ling to leave with the divine crystals. They weren't willing to accept this. With someone helping him, Commander Su Tian sneered, "You're still too inexperienced. Although you're a commander, you shouldn't have provoked so many commanders at the same time." Seeing this, Lin Ling's expression turned cold. He didn't expect the other party to go back on their words. One had to know that if he lost this bet, he'd have to hand over the Warm Sun Origin Jade. What if I don't hand it over? Lin Ling frowned and said. Then let's ask them. Commander Su Tian laughed loudly and spread his arms. Hundreds responded to his call. Then you won't be able to walk out of the camp. The entire camp erupted in a loud voice. All the soldiers were shouting loudly. This kind of shouting undoubtedly made Commander Su Tian and the others laugh excitedly. Obviously, they were bullying him with numbers. Lin Ling probably had no way out. He couldn't go against everyone's wishes unless he didn't want to stay in the martial god's barracks. Are you going to hand it over or not? Commander Su Tian stroked his chin and said amidst the loud cheers. The chess boy and the others shook their heads. Although Lin Ling was a commander, compared to Su Tian and the others, a recruit like Lin Ling didn't have much prestige. It seemed that Lin Ling could only hand over the divine crystals in a depressed manner. Under countless mocking gazes, Lin Ling nodded and slowly fished out something from his chest. Many people thought that Lin Ling had given in. It seemed that no matter how arrogant a recruit was, he would still have to obediently bow his head in front of a veteran. But in the next moment, a white banner appeared in Lin Ling's hand and was waved by Lin Ling. I asked you to hand over the divine crystals. What are you doing with a broken banner? That's a white banner. Are you surrendering? Su Tian was stunned for a moment before he suddenly burst into laughter. He thought that Lin Ling had gone mad from anger. Unfortunately, what's the use of surrendering? Stop waving it. No matter how you wave it, you still have to hand over the divine crystals. What a beautiful white flag. I bet a piece of divine crystal. I don't want that divine crystal. Give me that white flag. The crowd was also laughing loudly. There was even a soldier who wanted to gain the favor of the commander. He swaggered over to Lin Ling and snatched the banner from Lin Ling's hands. Yo, a small banner with good workmanship. You're waving it. Are you trying to call for reinforcements? Unfortunately, you should use a token instead of waving a white banner. You're so stupid. The soldier sized up the white banner and said with disdain, although the workmanship is good, it's a pity that the embroidery on it is too simple. A banner like this isn't worth much. Chapter 2208. By Ling flag. The soldier continued to gain the favor of the commander. He placed the white flag on his back and smiled proudly. Sir, do I look like an infantry commander? The moment he said that, the entire barracks burst into laughter. However, no one noticed that the white flag was emitting a faint light. Unfortunately, the light was too weak. On the other hand, the jade tokens on the waists of the chess boy and the others started to flicker. Even the jade tokens of all the scouts started to flicker, except for those who were in seclusion and those who weren't in the martial god barracks. It felt as if something was ordering them around. The chess boy and the others were shocked. Could it be that a great figure was summoning them? However, they didn't think too much about it. It was just a summoning and there was no mission, so there was no rush. Commander Lin Ling, hand over the divine crystal. At this moment, Su Tian stepped forward and pointed his sword at Lin Ling. Hand over the divine crystal. Under his voice, all the commanders shouted loudly. Even the soldiers in the barracks shouted loudly. Their voices were like the roar of war drums. Seeing this, Lin Ling frowned. The Bai Ling flag didn't have any effect. This was beyond his imagination. Do you regret it now? His appearance undoubtedly made Su Tian think that Lin Ling was scared silly. Since you're so stubborn, then stay here. Su Tian finally drew his sword. 30% of his realm origin was roaring. Although Lin Ling wasn't weak, they had so many commanders on their side. Why would they fear Lin Ling? However, at this moment, a terrifying aura pressed down. It was as if millions of soldiers were roaring. A fierce wind blew in the barracks. Su Tian's expression changed. It was as if he had seen the realm master. He almost couldn't hold his sword firmly. Pa! Footsteps sounded. A burly figure walked in like a war god. His pace wasn't fast, but every step he took formed a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. It was an illusion of thunder. What are all of you doing? Why are all of you indifferent when there is a mission from the barracks? The figure was an old man in black armor. His spine was straight, and his gaze was like lightning. He was like a thunder god. Commander Linghu. Everyone's expression changed drastically. That old man was the superior above Falling Flowers and Water Sword's head. It was said that he came from the Thunder World and could control the power of the Thunder World. Humph. Unfortunately, in the face of everyone's greetings, the old man coldly snorted. Previously, he had sensed that an order had been issued, and that order was actually to summon all the scouts. Therefore, he had rushed over to see what the mission was. However, who would have thought that as soon as he arrived, he would see a large army gathered here? He didn't know what they were doing. Are you trying to rebel? The old man shouted again, causing all the soldiers to tremble in fear. Sir, it's not like that. That recruit cheated us of our divine crystals, so we called on our subordinates to stop him. Su Tian hurriedly saluted. No matter why this grand commander had come, he would definitely put a big hat on Lin Ling first. Not bad, this recruit is really ruthless. Yes, all of us have been cheated of our divine crystals by that recruit. The other commanders also spoke respectfully. In their opinion, that old man definitely didn't come for Lin Ling. Lin Ling didn't have the qualifications. Sure enough, the old man's roar was like a thunderclap. Don't talk about such trivial matters. I'm asking you, who issued the mission? Hearing that, Su Tian and the others relaxed. It seemed that this grand commander really didn't come for Lin Ling. We don't know about that, but don't worry, Grand Commander. If there's a mission, we'll definitely be the first to go to the front lines. Su Tian flattered. The old man didn't pay attention to him at all. His gaze swept across the crowd, and then it fell on a soldier. That soldier was like a clown, and there was a flag on his body. Was he dancing? Huh. That flag looked familiar. It seemed to be the military command flag that only Lord Huangfu Yidao had. Was that the white command flag? However, why would such a flag appear on a clown? Where did the flag on your body come from? The old man's expression clearly turned solemn, and even his voice sounded nervous. However, the soldier was even more nervous than him. He couldn't have provoked the thunder god, right? He said nervously, "This flag isn't mine. I saw that it was exquisite, so I wore it for fun. This silly flag belongs to Lin Ling." Su Tian also sensed that something was wrong with the old man, so he hurriedly said. In his opinion, this flag must have violated a great taboo by provoking the old man, so he naturally distanced himself from it. That's right, it belongs to that recruit. This guy is a man, but he actually embroidered the flag. However, the embroidery on the flag isn't bad. Unfortunately, the pattern is too simple, so it's not worth much. Grand Commander, if you don't like this flag, I'll destroy it for you. As a soldier, he embroidered the flag. How shameful. It looks like the owner of this flag is also a woman. The other commanders flattered one after another. The old man's eyes widened as he finally looked at Lin Ling. You're saying that this flag belongs to him? That's right. Other than an idiot like him, who else in the army would play with flags? Su Tian nodded immediately. It's his. The old man's voice was trembling. Of course, he knew that this was the White Command flag. It was personally issued by Lord Huangfu. In the entire military camp, not many people were qualified to own it. And to own a White Command flag meant that one was a Grand Commander. Their status was the same as theirs. In fact, their status was even higher than that of ordinary Grand Commanders. Grand Commander, if you don't like this flag, I'll destroy it for you. Su Tian saw the old man's body trembling, so he hurriedly flattered him. Furthermore, he came in front of the soldier, snatched the flag, and threw it on the ground. Most importantly, he stomped on it a few times. All right. The other commanders all laughed. This action should be able to make the old man happy. You stomped on this flag? The old man's eyes widened as his body trembled even more. That's right. For Grand Commander, I'm willing to go through fire and water without hesitation. Su Tian puffed out his chest and said. Unfortunately, he didn't know that what followed next was not to ask for praise, but to be greeted with anger. I'll stomp on your whole family. The old man was like a furious thunder god. He took a big step forward, arrived in front of Su Tian, and slapped him. Rumble. The Thunder Realm energy exploded as if a world had exploded. Su Tian was directly smashed into the ground, leaving only his head outside. He kept vomiting blood. Seeing this, the entire barracks fell silent. What happened? However, in their eyes, the old man carefully picked up the white flag and wiped away the footprints on it. Only then did he turn around and walk toward Lin Ling. The entire process was done carefully, as if he was afraid of damaging the flag. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.